All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour one of Jon and Jim with you for the next 3 hours. Good show lined up for you. Of course, the Padres back home, as Jim told you during the update, inching towards the postseason, continuing to play really good baseball. A massive sweep in San Francisco, positioning them to potentially clinch a playoff spot at some point sooner rather than later. And the Houston Astros are here to kick off a 3-game series tonight, beginning at 6:40. So, Padres 3.5 games back in the division, 3.5 games ahead of a playoff spot, right where they need to be to hopefully keep that final couple of days of the season, Jim, drama-free. Nobody needs that Arizona series, the final weekend of the year, being a series where if you don't win it, you're out of the postseason, or if you don't win it, you're not clinching a home field spot in the wild card round either. We'll see about that. They're a game and a half up on Arizona, but a near perfect weekend. I mean, they swept the Giants. It wasn't truly perfect. We can talk about Robert Suarez, but outside of some particulars, sweeping the Giants, going 3.5 games up on a playoff spot, you can't ask for much more than that.
Taking care of business, doing exactly what they need to do. They have an opportunity now, outside chance at the division. We'll talk about that as well. But most importantly, they took care of their own business. How many times have we said, can you just take care of business? And it hasn't really worked out. Like they got the sweep. I think we were all asking just 2 out of 3 at worst, right? But picking up a sweep and playing really, really good baseball this past weekend. Yeah, it was almost a near perfect weekend. Fernando Tatis Jr. is fully back. He is playing out of his mind right now. Manny Machado still continuing to play at this, crazy level since his speech, I guess. Not speech, but maybe like interview with Kevin after that Phillies game back in July or June, excuse me. And Jackson Merrill's continuing to hit. He's been moved up in the lineup. Pitching's been good. Overall, just a fantastic weekend for the Padres, and picking up, ground here in the wild card, and with what the Mets and the Braves are doing, it all but feels like their playoffs chances right now, their chances to make the postseason, like, to me, that's locked up. They're in my mind. It's just now about, all right, can you get that 4? Can you have home field? And if things kind of go your way here and you continue to play good baseball for this week, maybe the start of that final road trip at Dodger Stadium, you have an outside shot at the division. But that's like, a lot of things would have to go right for you. But all in all, great weekend. To me, you're in now. Just don't blow this.
To me, you're not in now, but you're 99 and 100. They're not in, but they should be in, because nothing is in until it's in, especially with this organization. And by the way, crazier things have happened, but they're 35 and 15 in their last 50 games. Since they fell to 500, dropping the first game after the All-Star break, they're 35 and 15. That winning percentage is 700. They've got a 700 winning percentage in their last 50 games. They're among the hotter teams in baseball. You go to Fangraphs right now, there are 4 teams in baseball with a 10% chance of winning the World Series or better. The Padres are one of them. So it's not just us saying it. It's just the math supports them being among the contenders, because 35 and 15, they never do. Nobody does that. They've got the best record over that 50-game stretch. And listen, you get in, you can make noise. We've said that. They have all the makings of a team that can make noise. The one concern, and we can get into it, is maybe Robert Suarez. It's not like they live and die with him. They've got options in their bullpen. He did not throw well yesterday, blew a save. He has not thrown well in his last 8 or 10 outings, but he's had a good year. He's come back to earth. Could it bite him in the postseason? Of course it could. Mm-hmm. But outside of that, you can't have more going in a positive manner than what this team has going for itself right now.
When Tatis came back, the big question was, can you get something out of him? Can he heat it up here quickly? Because you're going to need him if you want to make a run in the postseason. And he had no rehab starts. He got, recalled or activated and went right in the starting lineup. Mm-hmm. So how is he going to look? He started out maybe a little slow. He had that walk-off in his second game. But this last week for Fernando Tatis Jr., John, has been incredible. He's had a home run in 4 of the last 5 games. He hit the pinch hit home run yesterday, first pitch pinch hit home run. And if you're going to get this Tatis coupled with the Manny Machado that is playing right now, with Jackson Merrill's amazing season, Luis Suarez is, I mean, can't say, enough good things about what Luis Suarez is doing right now in his game. Anybody has a problem with how he plays, like, stop. He's an amazing baseball player.
He's too good.
There is, yeah,
he's been too valuable.
Good.
He gets too many hits.
They are so dangerous right now, and you're playing your best baseball, or hopefully getting to the point where it's like you're on a roll here heading into the postseason. And all your players are clicking. Tatis, Manny, Jackson Merrill, Luis Suarez, and then, of course, the pitching staff with Dylan Cease pitching lights out on Friday. That was a huge question mark. The game within the game. You were there.
Yep, I was.
He was fantastic. Joe the other day, fantastic. So, yeah, man, I think the things that are going right for this team are happening at the exact right time.
Yeah, now I lived through it like most of our listeners did. 2022 postseason, Robert Suarez facing Bryce Harper. Like I lived through it, and
yeah.
I understand
That's
as we
part,
all
yeah.
do. That it's one thing to have a lead, but in the postseason, you got a 1-run lead in the 9th inning. I don't care who's on the mound. I mean, Mariano Rivera has blown massive saves in 9th innings before in World Series. So Robert Suarez has had a very good year. Make no mistake. It's not to say that he's not capable, but I mean, you just got to look yourself in the mirror at some point if you're the organization and say that if the next 2 weeks don't go well, do you have a plan? Now, they planned for it with the acquisitions they made at the trade deadline. I mean, Tanner Scott is a legitimate frontline major league closer. I just wonder if they'd be willing. At what point are you willing to change what you've done when you've played really good baseball? They've played great baseball. Like I said, they're 35-15 in the last 50 games. It doesn't scream rock the boat because we're playing really well. But if Robert Suarez has a 5 ERA over his final 15 appearances going into the postseason, are you really going to throw him out there just because? Or are you going to be willing to go by committee or be more tactical or change things up? I think it's at least a conversation, isn't it?
Yeah, that's where the only, I guess, concern is right now with this team. Everything I said, that's great. But the concern is Robert Suarez. Like, I think there should be concern there. I don't think you should just turn a blind eye to it.
Right.
That's just irresponsible. And I know that publicly Mike Schilt will back Suarez no matter what, as he should. He's not going to throw his closer on the bus because then you lose him. But I would bet a lot that internally, if Robert Suarez the last 2 weeks here, say he makes, I think, 5 or 6 appearances in 12 games, say in those 5 or 6 appearances, say 3 of them aren't really good, he maybe blows another save, there has to be a discussion for sure. You have definitely other players that can get the job done. Tanner Scott, Jason Adam, it's not like you don't have anybody that can be put in that role. And I think the closer we get to the postseason here, when we find out how Robert Suarez truly looks closer to the postseason, then I do think that the leash will be very short. Like, if he gets put in a postseason game, say game 1, they have a 4-2 lead, he blows the save. I think that right there will be the short leash of like, okay, I'm sorry, but we got to go a different direction.
Well, you'd have to, because your season would be in the line in game 2, and I don't think you would turn right back to him. So these are the numbers. In his last 13 games, this is over a month. This is going back to August 12th. In his last 13 games, he's got a 6.4 ERA. He's been very hittable. He allowed the first ever home run into McCovey Cove by a right-handed hitter in the history of Oracle, for whatever that's worth.
That's like not easy to do.
I mean, it's a 1 in 100,000 is essentially what it is. But I think it speaks to this point. The pitcher we saw in the first half of the season that was brilliant, among the best closers, if not relievers in baseball, he's not that guy right now. And if you think he is, then you haven't been paying attention. It's not to say he couldn't be effective in the postseason. It's not to say he couldn't refine what he had previously. I even go back to 2022. They acquired Josh Hader. He was lost. There was a 3 or 4 week period. I argued, I'm like, Hader should not be closing for this team.
He was awful.
And he's not trustworthy in the postseason, is what I was saying in August. But he completely redeems himself in September. And by the time October rolled around, he was back to his vintage form. The difference here is Josh Hader found himself in September of 2022. Robert Suarez has lost himself in August and September of 2024. That's a big difference and a big concern for me 2 weeks from now, and it really, really, really matters.
It's a real thing. The most innings he's ever pitched in his entire career is this year. And coming off of the bad year last year, he got suspended for the sticky stuff. He was injured. This season, he was fantastic. He was great for the start of the year. For majority of the season, he has been great. But like, those numbers are the numbers, and he is, I'm not going to say fallen off a cliff, but it's damn near close to that. I mean, you have those numbers as a closer for the last month. They're not good. So you got 2 weeks here to hopefully fix him. And if he continues to not look good and blow more saves and gives up home runs, or just doesn't look sharp out there, you got to have that conversation going into the postseason. And I truly think the mentality of this team, which is team first based, I don't have any concern or worry if they happen to go away from Robert Suarez as the closer in the postseason. I really don't.
Can you imagine, though, if the first time they did it was in the postseason? Because Suarez has been your closer for 5.5 months. He certainly hasn't yet lost that job, per Mike Schill post-game yesterday. So the next time there's a save spot, you assume it's Robert Suarez. All of a sudden, we're within the final 10 games of the year. Maybe they go to Tanner Scott for the final 2 or 3 save opportunities of the season. Okay, that bridges the gap a little bit, makes you a little more comfortable. But imagine you get all the way through it. There's 12 games left. And then all of a sudden, it's game 1 against Arizona at home, and you do lead 4-2 in the 9th inning, and they have their 3-4-5 coming up, and it's Tanner Scott in the 9th inning, not Robert Suarez. That would be really fascinating after not doing that essentially all season long.
Well, whatever they're going to do, they have to have a plan, and they have to, ramp this up for the last 2 weeks. If they truly are that concerned about Robert Suarez, maybe they are, maybe they aren't. I don't know.
We don't know.
But if they truly are behind closed doors that concerned about him, then you got to make the move, right? You have to make the move now.
Right, because you can't really wait. There's no time.
You can't be like, the final game of the year,
September 28th. Let's use Tanner Scott.
Yeah, and you're really not going to go committee here as far as closers go. Like,
why would you even do it? Because you have 2 elite. Suarez has been an elite closer, and Tanner Scott has closed games. Why would you go elsewhere anyway? I would only use those 2 pitchers. If there's an emergency, 10th, 11th, 12th inning.
Jason Adam has closed games this year for the Rays.
True, but it's like you got 2 guys that this is who they are right now in their careers. Yeah. Tanner Scott and Robert Suarez.
And are you going to go matchup based instead of like defined roles? You could go that route.
Could. Absolutely.
But that gets a little tricky too, because if it's just, I am more of the proponent of defined roles. Like, okay, you got the 7th, he has the 8th, he has the 9th. I that's how I like my baseball. But at the same time, it could be more anything. Like, what if the save is in the 8th inning? What if the save is in the 7th inning? Like, we've talked about that 100 times on this show, that a lot of times in the postseason, the saves don't always come in the 9th.
It's true. They've rarely done that with Suarez this year, like found the save, quote unquote, earlier than the 9th inning. They have. You'd have to go way back for them to do it. I could argue that Robert Suarez could be pitching maybe in a 7th or 8th inning as opposed to a 9th. Therefore, if a lead is blown, you have an opportunity to reclaim. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. On the other side, what's on the line specifically this week for the Padres at home? Their final home regular season homestand against the Astros for 3 beginning tonight, then this weekend against the lowly Chicago White Sox. We'll get into that on the other side. Plus, we'll hear from Sean Lewis. He met with the media earlier today. What's it been like working in a brand new offense, the 2 freshman quarterback, dealing with the growing pains? We'll hear from Sean Lewis coming up at 3:30. This is Jon and Jim. All right, John Kurtz, he's been on the show before. He's a Big 12 insider, a realignment expert, if there is such a thing. He will join us coming up at 4:30. When I haven't been calling Aztec games or traveling or watching the Padres, I've been consuming realignment podcasts over the last 96 hours. So John Kurtz will join us coming up at 4:30 this afternoon. We had a meeting earlier today, and I'm like, this meeting is interfering with my ability to listen to realignment podcasts.
Yeah, I'm sure Kristen loves that, right?
I try to keep it from her. I'll be like, she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, work. And then I got
to go to the bathroom for 45 minutes.
What have you been doing for the last hour?
And I'm not going to the bathroom.
I'm listening to podcasts about Air Force to the AAC. Yeah. Anyway, Padres are going to be.
I'm like, what?
Padres are going to be hosting Houston for 3 off Thursday, hosting the White Sox, who have 15 road wins this year, Friday through Sunday. That wraps up their home schedule in the regular season in 2024. So here's what's interesting, Jim, is we've gone back and forth on this. I'm like, the magic number's 9 because if they win 9 games, they can't be passed. But the reason it's technically 8, and I did the deep dive on this while we were talking last segment. I wasn't listening to you. I was doing the deep dive. It's actually 8 because the Braves and Mets play each other, which means one of them is guaranteed to lose one more game this year. One of those teams has to lose at least one game this year, right? Because they play each other. Because of that, the magic number is, in fact, 8, which means it's conceivable on the homestand. You go 5-1, even 4-2, you get 2 or 3 losses from one of those 2 teams, and you're right on the cusp of actually clinching potentially at Petco.
So we talked a little bit about this on the wrap-up show last night. Is there and I'm not good with this, is there a possibility that their magic number could be 1 after Sunday's game?
1,000%.
Okay. So in that case, you would then theoretically, no matter what, clinch.
No, that means you've already clinched. Your magic number is 0 after Sunday.
I said 1. I don't know how that would work, but like if they end Sunday,
it has to stay at 2 for them not to have clinched.
Okay, you're right. 2.
See what I'm saying? Because at 1, they're guaranteed
a clinch.
No, they're not, dude. It's still confusing because we're getting ahead of ourselves. Because if it's 1, but it's Atlanta and Atlanta sweeps the Mets, their magic number can be 1.
Okay.
It can be every number between 1 and 8.
I'm trying to figure out a way that they can somehow celebrate on Sunday at Petco.
No, they can.
I know, but even if
no, they can't do it with the magic number.
Okay,
they can't do. They can only do it with the magic number of 0.
So stupid.
Yeah,
but I just don't want them to have to go to Dodger Stadium and then.
Well, that's the most likely spot that they clinch.
Yeah, somehow they,
get beat and
they lose a game to the Dodgers, and the Dodgers get to celebrate the division, and then vice versa. The Padres also get to celebrate the wild card at the same time.
Definitely possible.
Man, that would just be very awkward.
It would be awkward. That's a really good point. We've talked about it for the last week or two. The best case, honestly, it's realistic, Jim, because the White Sox are the White Sox. I'm not guaranteeing a sweep, but we all are hoping for and kind of expecting 3 wins against the White Sox, which means if you somehow win this Astros series, easier said than done. Shoot, this could be a World Series preview for all we know. As good as Houston's been since their slow start, as good as the Padres have been in the second half. If you win a Houston series and take 3 from the White Sox, you got a really good shot of clinching at home. Because Atlanta hasn't been perfect.
No.
The Mets haven't been perfect. If one of these teams doesn't play well over the next week, you might be in the postseason. You might clinch your spot before you even go to the road.
Mets have a series with the Nationals, 3-game series here. Then the Braves.
That's where you're guaranteed to gain ground. Because they
have a series on the road against the Reds.
Okay.
Arizona is on the road versus the Rockies. That's a great place to be at for one of the best offenses in baseball.
Right.
And then obviously, Padres are playing the Astros for the next 3 days. Phillies and Brewers play. That could be determined. That could determine like
home field
potentially.
Yep.
I mean, Brewers, I don't think they're going to catch the Phillies because the Phillies are the 1 seed right now and they have 90 wins. They're, 4 back of them, but
who do the Dodgers play?
Dodgers play, John, the Nobody's today.
Well, who do they play this week?
The Marlins. Sorry, the Marlins. They play the Marlins.
They've such as banged up as they are with pitching. They've got Marlins and Rockies.
But that's after
to close
today.
Their season.
They have a final game of their 4-game series with
against
the Braves today, and they start a series against the Marlins tomorrow.
So to make up 3.5 from the Dodgers. By the way, we've gone back and forth. I've waffled on this. I'll be like, division's over, and then I'm like, they're still alive. I'll admit, I'm waffling right now. If you can do that 5-1 homestand I'm talking about, again, it's a big if. You go 5-1, you're absolutely in this thing because there's nothing the Dodgers are going to do to create more separation if you go 5-1. Like, are they going to play better than 5-1 in their next 6 games? If they don't, is my point. You're going there 3 games back with 6 to play, which was our required maximum for being in it. You go there 3 back with 6 to play. I mean, everything's in front of you.
Game on.
Yeah, you win game 1, all of a sudden they're feeling the pressure.
And they're one of the best road teams in baseball. They played the Dodgers really well this year. Arizona, TBD. But
right.
At least you know that you played the Dodgers well. And the Dodgers are reeling. I know that the odds of them winning the division are high, but they've lost Glass now for the probably rest of the season. They don't have Kershaw. Bueller's up, he's all over the place. Yamamoto is just coming back. Flaherty's pitched well, but their bullpen isn't the same. And I just, they're not as formidable as I think in years past they have been. Even though they have Ohtani still and they got Mookie Betts back and blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. I just think that if there was a year to finally catch them, why not this year?
You're saying in the regular season?
Yeah.
Yeah, again, it's still a big ask. It's a big hurdle.
Yeah.
3.5 games in 12 games is a lot, even with the tiebreaker. And you look at who they're playing, the Rockies and the Marlins, it doesn't scream they're going to just completely collapse. But you do have 3 games against them. And the way the Padres have played in the second half, don't put anything past them is what I would say.
Yep.
All right, on the other side, we'll hear from Sean Lewis. He met with the media earlier today. San Diego State, as you know, going to Berkeley and losing to Cal to fall to 1-2. We're going to hear from Sean Lewis on the other side, what it's been like to work in 2 freshman quarterbacks in the first 3 weeks of the season. That's on the other side. We're here until 6. John Kurtz will join us at 4:30. We'll talk about the latest with the Pac-12, San Diego State, and realignment. We have some tickets to give away. We have Green Day tickets to give away. Trainwreck Radio will return. We have Green Day tickets to give away in the 4 o'clock hour. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. Hey guys, it's Jon and Jim, and it is the best time of year. NFL, we're through 2 weeks after Monday Night Football tonight. College football in full swing. Baseball playoffs 2 weeks away. And with Underdog Fantasy, you can win hundreds of times your money just by choosing higher or lower on your favorite player stats.
Yeah, Monday Night Football tonight. Special gimme pick, Jalen Hurts, higher than a half total yard. Got to get it on that play right now. Download the Underdog Fantasy app. Use promo code Jon and Jim and get your first deposit there matched.
Yeah, you're right. Go to the mobile app or Underdog Fantasy. It's JONAND JIM. Use that promo code. You're going to get the highly discounted pick to use in your first pick of entry, plus a 50% deposit match up to $1,000. Their best offer ever. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code JONAND JIM to claim your new customer offer of a gimme first pick and your deposit offer.
You must be 18 years or older and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms do apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. This update is brought to you by Allstate. Padres, they are coming off a sweep of the Giants this past weekend. They're now 20 games over 500. First time since 2010 that has happened. Their magic number to clinch is 8. We'll say 8. They are a game and a half up on the D-backs for the 4 seed and 3.5 games back of the Dodgers in the NL West. They start a 3-game series tonight with the Astros. 6:40 first pitch. Yu Darvish on the mound for the Padres, and the Aztecs, they have a bye this week, but today they announced their start time for the following week's game at Central Michigan, 12:30 kickoff. Our pregame coverage will start at 10:30 right here on San Diego Sports 760. Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Those people are probably saving a carload of cash right now. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Padres Astros tonight, game 1 of a 3-game series at Petco. Cool to see Fernando Tatis Jr. catching up with Albert Pujols, who's at Petco Park, taking a batting practice for the Padres. They get 3 hours out. We'll hear from Jackson Merrill coming up in about 30 minutes. He has spoken with the media this afternoon. Let's hear from Sean Lewis in a moment. Jim watched this game. I called this game. There's nothing out of this game that was overly shocking to me. I know everyone's going to talk about penalties. That's completely fine. San Diego State leads FBS in penalties through 3 weeks. They broke in a new quarterback because Danny O'Neal was out. It was never going to be easy, obviously. Cal's now 3-0. They've been one of the good upstart stories in college football. And the Aztecs were in it for a half, a lot like Oregon State. It was 7-3 at the half. They actually should have had a lead at the half, if not for a penalty on a pick six that was called back. But second half, Cal really ran the ball effectively. Javance Johnson, his first start against a really good team, and there were some highs and there were some lows, and the penalties really were the story. So we'll hear from Sean Lewis in a moment. But, again, going into this game, they're 18.5-point underdogs. They weren't necessarily expected to win this game. They're 1-2 on the year. I think it's a big bye week to get ready for Central Michigan. If you can get to 2-2 at this spot, I think you'd feel good about it. They'll hopefully get Danny O'Neal back a week from this Saturday as well. But the penalties really have been the story, I would say, through 3 weeks for San Diego State.
Yeah, the game flow watching this team right now is really tough watch. It's a really tough watch because there's penalties every single play. And if you want to blame the refs for the penalties, yeah, I mean some were egregious. But at some point this team is going to have to become way more disciplined because it is throwing everything off. You can't have you can't build without being consistent, and having this many penalties every single week on offense, it gives you no opportunity to get in any type of rhythm at all. And I just think that for this coaching staff, they have to figure a way out to have this team much more disciplined going into game days, because right now these penalties it is a really hard watch.
I think two things can be true. Yes. And B, you've played 2 freshman quarterbacks that had never started ever this season. And the one you started this past week was starting on the road against a really good defense, arguably the best defense San Diego State is going to face this season. Like it was a big hurdle heading into the game. And yes, they need to clean up the penalties, but heading into the game, it was a big hurdle asking Javance Johnson to overcome all of that, play on the road against this really good Cal team coming off a game in which they held Auburn to 14 points? They held Auburn to 14 points on the Plains. Mm-hmm. And you're asking Javance Johnson to, lead you in that spot. And again, I thought there were highs and I thought there were lows, but it's a big ask is my point. So what is it like trying to work in 2 freshman quarterbacks? Is it a challenge? This was Sean Lewis earlier today.
I think it's a tremendous opportunity because of the growth that they get to have. I don't see it as a challenge. I mean, there's going to be the obvious growing pains that we all see and that we all feel, and that's not just the quarterback. It's the whole offensive overhaul that we are going through and that we're working through. But again, like without those growing pains and without the opportunities to learn, right? Like if we're not stressed in tests, then we're never going to know how special something can become, right? So I think it's awesome for those guys to learn from each other. It's been great to see other guys step up and make contested catches, and guys step up and pass pro and know that, all right, hey, like I got to be right so that the guy who's making the decisions and pulling the trigger can be right as well. So that's been really, really cool to see. And it's a tremendous opportunity for our offense to continue to grow around whoever happens to be receiving those snaps.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of growing pains. You can't just throw out two, true freshman quarterbacks and expect it to
one's
be
a red
like,
shirt, but yeah,
like amazing. But the thing that they can control is the discipline part of it. Yes, Cal's a better team. Oregon State was a better team. Of course, if you told me they're going to win those games, I'd be like, wow, they must have played really, really well. Like going into those matchups, you didn't expect. I mean, they're an 18-point underdog going up against Cal.
Yep.
I think the defense overall this season has played really, really well. Considering, the second half against Cal, I think just got worn down because they were out there a lot. And the offense needs to do a much better job giving this defense time to rest. And that was kind of my one fear, is like how fast Sean Lewis wants to operate this offense early on. And truthfully, like his whole entire thing and motto is Aztec fast. And he wants to operate this offense as fast as possible. Well, then you better be picking up some first downs and having some sustained drives, because if you're not, you're going to give this defense, you're going to put a lot of strain on this defense, and they're going to be out there a lot.
Which really wasn't the story in this game, because time of possession was even in this game. That was definitely a story in game two. I don't think here's the thing. You played one FCS opponent that you should beat up on, and they did in the second half. You've played two quote-unquote power opponents. The upcoming 9 games against group of 5 opponents, other than Washington State could be the favorite to make the playoff, by the way. 8 of your next 9 games are against quote-unquote like-minded programs, right? Group of 5. That's where we're going to learn a lot. The Texas A&M Commerce game, yeah, you can learn something. The Oregon State and Cal game, yeah, you can learn something. What does it look like against Central Michigan? What does it look like against Hawaii? Group of 5 program on group of 5 program. I think that's where we're going to learn potentially more about San Diego State. But yeah, I mean, this game, they had 6 sacks in this game defensively. I thought that was a huge win. And then, Cal had success running the football as well. I want to see what happens in terms of growth between now and the end of the season. How do they grow? What does the offense look like 6 weeks from now, as opposed to today? Like that to me is going to be most telling. And everything's brand new. Everything is completely brand new. And this was always going to be a possibility that there'd be growing pains. That's the words that Sean Lewis just used. And you've played 2 Power 5 opponents, and you've lost to those 2 opponents.
It's funny because I was listening to the TV broadcast, sorry, John, at home. And Dave Fleming was on the call. I forget who the caller was.
Brock Osweiler?
Okay. Nice. No, cool. Towards the end of that game, they were getting very upset at the refs.
The end of the game isn't the time to have done it, probably, because all the penalties were in the first half.
Well, towards the end, I mean, the second half, it was like there was some calls where you're like, what's the guy supposed to do? But
absolutely.
It's like, hey, can you just let these guys play some football out here?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not just a 1-week occurrence with this Aztec team. It's been an occurrence for the first 3 games of the year.
Yeah, definitely.
It would be one thing if all of a sudden there's like 20 penalties called on them, and they've only had a total of like 10 the first 2 games. But the first 3 games of the year has been a penalty fest for this offense. And I think that has to be priority number 1, is cleaning up the penalties. Because if they don't clean up the penalties, there's no opportunity for this offense to get in any type of groove, whoever the quarterback is.
The crazy thing is San Diego State held the ball for 28 minutes. They ran 5 fewer plays than Cal. So they ran some plays. They didn't get up to 80, but they pushed 70. And Cal ran 70 plays in this game. Cal, give them credit. I mean, I thought their running game was really good. They were without their star running back, Jade Knott, and their backup, I thought, was terrific in the win. Let's go to the phones, 877-767-4760. Dave wants to weigh in. Dave, welcome back to Jon and Jim, man.
Yeah, thanks again, guys. And thanks, John, for the broadcast Saturday night. It was good stuff to listen to. And, I did flip back and forth just because I like to hear what the other TV guys are saying. And one of the things they remarked on was the fact that Cal in the first half was equally making a lot of mistakes penalty wise. So if there's some silver lining in that cloud, maybe you take that away from it. But my question, John, is this: whatever happened to AJ Duffy?
He's there. I mean, he's their third string quarterback. I mean, he transferred in from
I mean,
Florida
how did you
State.
go from first? I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm confused here. He was very much heralded, as you well know, Jim knows too, and coming in here and was a leading contender for the starting job, and now he is like off the face of the earth. And I'm just wondering, how does this happen, especially when you've got a freshman, when you should have had a freshman no less than your backup should have been Duffy, I would have thought, given all of the notoriety.
Right, but if it's a meritocracy, like I mean, based on who's earned it, right? Presumably Javance and Danny earned it over AJ Duffy.
Yeah,
you got a clean slate, and they outplayed them in fall camp, presumably.
Yeah, football is the one sport that you just don't get handed something because of your name.
Right, exactly. I mean, Malachi Nelson at Boise State's a 5-star recruit that went to SC. He lost the job in fall camp.
There's no Bronny Jameses out there where you're just given opportunities.
Even Bronny,
I mean, he's earned it a little bit, but truthfully, not really. Anyway, like NFL, Bryce Young, number 1 overall pick, he got benched today. Like,
right,
if you can't play
for Andy Dalton,
right? Like you're going to get exposed very quickly in football, and we don't see practices every day. We don't know what the coaches talk about behind closed doors. We don't know what goes on in those meeting rooms. So if AJ Duffy, who I think everybody thought he could definitely be a starting quarterback for this team to start the year, if he's not out there, there's a reason why he's not out there. And only the coaches know that.
Yeah. And again, it's more of a credit maybe to Danny O'Neal and Javance Tupuola Johnson because they earned that. I think the fact that AJ Duffy isn't playing isn't like, oh man, they'd be so much better off with Duffy. I mean, I feel like the coaches have a better feel for it than fans do. Yeah. So they are trying to put their team in the best position to win.
Please, God, clean up the penalties.
Penalties have to be cleaned up.
Penalties,
no
clean up the penalties.
No question. All right, is that good? The best and worst of the sports weekend. On the other side, we have Green Day tickets. We'll give them away in the 4 o'clock hour. It's Jon and Jim. Up 2 weeks. That's Petco Park, by the way. We'll give those away in the 4 o'clock hour. Jon Jim with you until 6 p.m. We do the wrap coming up with John Coates. Realignment, my favorite topic of bracketology. We'll join us at 4:30. I might put realignment over bracketology. No. But over right. Because it's year round. I mean, realignment pops up in season. It had been over the summer the last couple of years, but this year in season. So John Kurtz, Big 12 Insider coming up at 4:30. How much on the road? So like, did you talk about realignment with people like nothing? I wasn't like walking around Berkeley, like people like protesting things like, hey, what do you think about realignment?
No, I mean, like at the stadium, like there were like people there, like media people.
None.
None.
I don't. I'm weird, but only with people I know. I'm not going to walk up to Dave Fleming and be like, "Hey, man, what do you think's going to happen with Air Force?" Like I didn't do that.
Okay, never mind.
But I'd like to get his 2 cents if he wants to weigh in. Maybe I should have asked Dave Fleming about it when I spoke with him.
Well, then Cal left the ACC, so that'd be kind of like, oh, hey, here, I'm going to start dating your ex-girlfriend. How you guys feel about that? You want to talk about your ex-girlfriend?
Yeah.
They're probably like, no, we left them for a reason. It's like, we don't really want to talk about that.
All right, here's what we're going to do. On the other side, again, we're going to get to the wrap. Coming up at the 4 o'clock hour, we've got those tickets to give away to see Green Day. But right now, let's get to this.
Is that good?
Wilcox, snapper, Huber, holder, from 29 yards away. Oh, he missed it badly. Kick on the way. Boswell. That's a winner.
The good and bad from the sports weekend.
Okay, the Panthers might be the worst NFL franchise like ever.
No, don't say it. There's been 0-17s and 0-16s.
Well, they have a chance this year to go 0-17.
I know, we've seen it.
Now, granted, I think actually Andy Dalton gives them a better chance to win. But my is that good is just Bryce Young. That's all I got.
Are you kidding me?
Awful, John. Awful. His career so far, he's won 2 games. He's had a quarterback rating above 90 4 times. His QBR for his career is 34.1.
How much of it is him? How much of it is play callers, people around him, everything that goes? I mean, some of it is definitely him. Is it all him?
No, it's not all him. But at the same time, he's not showing.
He's not helping.
He's not helping at all. I mean, his first 2 games this year, first game he threw for 84 yards. He had a QBR of 6.4.
That's not bad.
Yesterday, he threw for 161 yards. He was 13 for 30, 2 interceptions. His quarterback rating was 32.8. His QBR was 12.2.
Is that good?
It's not good at all.
All right, I'll stick with that game because the Chargers are 2-0. J.K. Dobbins, 17 carries, Jim, 131 yards, a touchdown. Chargers roll 26-3. They've got a better record than the Niners right now. Might be destined for a Super Bowl appearance under Jim Harbaugh. Is J.K. Dobbins good?
It is good.
Have you seen this Chargers team?
Have you seen who they played the first 2 weeks? Now the Raiders.
My next team is on fire.
Now my next one has to do with the team that they beat in Week 1. Somehow the Raiders beat the Ravens yesterday. It's only the second time that John Harbaugh's team, Ravens team, has gone 0-2 to start the season. Last time I think was it was like almost a decade ago. Okay. But the Ravens are 0-2 under John Harbaugh this year. They lost to the Raiders yesterday at home. Brent, is that good?
No, it's no good. Are you kidding me?
A team that's supposed to
They'll
compete
be all right, though.
for the they'll be
They'll
fine.
be fine, yeah.
But the AFC is a juggernaut.
You're right. They're supposed to maybe get to like a Super Bowl, compete with the Chiefs as the best team in the conference.
I'm not putting, by the way, the Chargers in any juggernaut conversations when they beat the Raiders and the Panthers in 2 weeks.
Right. I think there's a tier. It's probably Chargers, then like they're in their own tier right now in the AFC.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to switch back to the Padres, who are playing really well, 35-15 in their last 50. How about this from Luis Suarez? Last 21 games, Luis Suarez is hitting .429. His on-base plus slugging, now he's Mr. I Don't Walk, as if anyone cares. He's got a .969 OPS in his last 21 games. Is that good?
It is good.
Walked yesterday, too, in the win.
Wow. Tatis, the last week, has been unbelievable. 4 home runs in his last 5 games. He's slugging .846 with an OPS well over 1,200. He had a pinch hit home run yesterday, coming off the bench, cold. First pitch he sees, boom, 400 feet, left center. Brent, is that good?
Bench him.
He was on the bench.
He was on the bench.
already benched.
Then he came off the bench and he hit a home
Scheduled
run.
off day for him. And then I'll close with this WNBA note. For the first time in the history of the league, Las Vegas has a player, Asia Wilson, who scored 1,000 points in a season. It had never been done in the history of the WNBA. Is that good for Asia Wilson? Pretty cool. Good accomplishment for one of the top franchises in the history of the WNBA, the Las Vegas Aces.
Also, Caitlin Clark is just continuing to put up these crazy stats. She already
They're
broke
going to the postseason.
She already broke the single season record for most assists, and she's a rookie. She had, I think, 35 points the other day over the weekend.
You only get 3 is that good.
I know, but I'm just like adding it in there.
She's good.
She's very good.
She's definitely been very good.
Yeah.
All right. So in the 4 o'clock hour, we have Green Day tickets with the Smashing Pumpkins to give away. I feel like that's a great giveaway.
Green Day.
That's
hell yeah.
Petco Park a week from Saturday night. So we have Green Day tickets. Do not go anywhere. We'll give those away in the 4 o'clock hour. We have John Party tickets we'll give away. We have John Kurtz, a lot of Johns. We have John Kurtz, Big 12 insider, realignment expert. He will join us as well coming up at 4:30. There's a lot to get to. Again, the Padres and Astros coming up tonight. 6:40, game 1 of a 3-game series. Padres trying to lower that magic number. We've got the wrap coming up on the other side. In addition to that, we do want to remind you, San Diego Sports 760 presents the 2024 iHeartRadio Music Festival live this Friday and Saturday, Jim. T-Mobile Arena in Vegas. Some of the biggest artists in the world together on one stage. Gwen Stefani, Paramore, the Black Crowes, Dua Lipa, and many more. Experience the show live all weekend long. Stream it only on Hulu and listen on the iHeartRadio app starting at 7:30 p.m. So the iHeartRadio Music Festival this Friday and Saturday from T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. We'll give away those tickets to Green Bay. Yeah, we've got Packers tickets to give away coming up next. No, we have Green Day tickets we'll give away in the 4 o'clock hour. John Kurtz joins us at 4:30. The wrap is next on Jon and Jim.
All right, this update's brought to you by Allstate. Padres coming off their sweep of the Giants this past weekend. They're 20 games over 500. Their magic number to clinch the playoff spot is 8 games. They are a game and a half up on the D-backs. They're for the 4th seed, and they're 3.5 games back of the Dodgers in the NL West. They start a 3-game series tonight with the Houston Astros at Petco Park. 6:40 first pitch. Yu Darvish on the mound for the Padres. NFL Week 2 gets completed tonight, Monday Night Football, as the Falcons are visiting the Philadelphia Eagles. 5:20 kickoff in Philadelphia. Aztecs football team, they have a bye this upcoming week. They announced the start time, though, for their following week's game at Central Michigan, 12:30 kickoff there. And San Diego FC announced today the hiring of the Mickey Varis as their first ever head coach in club history. Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Those people are here probably saying saving a carload of cash right now. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Hour 2 of Jon and Jim. Jim is staring at me. Now, again, is this a glaring, absurd, ridiculous, egregious update you just read? Maybe not.
It was like a C-.
I don't know if it was that high. Then the reason I'm going to call you out is he asked me at the break, Brian, he's like, what's the name of the new San Diego FC manager that they hired? And we're like, oh, here it is. You know, I was like, oh, is it Varis or Varis? His last name, it's Varas.
Yeah.
So I'm like, Varis, probably.
I'll go Varis.
And we started playing a video. We were looking for his name, but we didn't have time. But he did it. You picked up the phone. He's like, and San Diego FC has hired Mickey Varis as their manager, coach, or whatever. Well, his name is Mikey. So he's not it's not Mickey.
MIUSC.
If it's Mik, it's Mike.
Okay, sorry.
Well, would you like to apologize to him? I think he's supposed to join us tomorrow.
I know, and I will get it right by then.
Hi, Mickey.
Hi, Mickey. How you doing? Welcome to San
My name's
Diego.
Mike.
Mikey.
Anyway,
This is
it's fine.
Mickey.
So
It's
I guess we won't play Tony Basil for him tomorrow then.
I don't. Huh?
Hey, Mickey, you're so fine. You're so fine. You blow my mind.
Says, hey, Mickey.
Yeah.
Here's my new idea for the updates. And just I'm thinking outside the box. Because before Jon and Jim starts, there's like a national update guy that does San Diego updates. He's phenomenal. He's like, San Diego State's got a bye week. They play at Central Michigan next Saturday. It's at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. He's like, SDFC has hired Mikey Varis. You're just emulating this dude, but this dude's running circles around you with all due respect. And by all due respect, I mean, he's just running circles around you. Why don't we just take that update, save it, play it, and then you can do the read. We'll play it, and then boom, he's done. You can say this update brought to you by AutoZone.
Well, no. That's
Why not?
actually have like a live update.
That is live. That's more up to date than your update. He's like, the Padres played tonight at 6:40. You're like, the Padres on Tuesday beat the Astros.
So hold on, pause. Have you listened to any of my updates today besides me saying Mickey instead of Mikey?
Not really, to be honest.
So if you listened, not one time did I say, oh, the Padres won on Friday night. I said, yeah, Padres swept the Giants.
Right.
They started a 3-game series with the Astros tonight, 6:40 first pitch.
Okay.
Darvish on the mound.
What are you saying? Okay,
you can't make fun of me for my updates when you don't even listen to my updates, is my point.
That's fine, and that's fair. But I can make fun of you for updates because I've tuned them out because after 3 years of these updates, I know what I'm hearing.
Okay.
So it's just an idea. 70470 start with team. Do you want Jim to continue the updates, or do you like that national guy at 259?
Why don't we just make Brent do the updates?
Brent's very good with the updates.
I
Now
know.
he
I'll
usually
do 'em.
records them,
which
is great.
Yeah, but I record them like a minute.
Yeah, you
before I
record them
play
at
it. It's
like
not
if the
I-
break's at 3:30,
yeah, I
does
don't
it at
tape it at
3:28.
10 in the morning. Or
Right. You should just tape
tape
guess
everything
the score of the game.
We should just tape everything at 10 in the morning.
Who should do the updates?
I'm using Biff's Sports Almanac. I have all the
Yes.
answers.
Who should do the update? 70470 start it with team.
I have a feeling that's going to be a resounding Brent.
It could be Brian. It could be that national guy I really like. Is he available?
We might have to actually find out what his name is.
I don't know what his name is. He says his
You
name.
can't just call up and be like, hey, is national guy there?
I need to hear it back. Okay, coming up later this hour, your chance to win Green Day tickets. We have John Kurtz, Big 12 insider. He'll join us at 4:30, realignment expert right now. Let's get to this.
It's time for The Wrap, presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
Is SESU's game at Central Michigan next weekend a must-win game?
Well, hold on.
Talk.
That's hold on. Let's take baby steps here, okay? Can they just play a complete game? Must win? I don't know about that. Can they score a first half touchdown? Can they do that? Can they put some points on the board? Can they not have all these penalties? Can they play a cleaner game than they have the last 2 weeks especially? It's not a must-win game. I mean, did anybody think this Aztec team was going to win 7, 8, 9 games this year? I don't think so. I think what people do want to see, though, is them building each and every single week and getting better each and every single week. And right now, the last 2 weeks hasn't felt that way.
Well, and
but
again, the last 2 weeks, you've had
it.
2 different quarterbacks. You've had the 2 Power 5 opponents on your schedule. So it was always going to be a challenge. Now, to get to a bowl game, could you use a win a week from Saturday? Of course you could, because you need to get to 6 wins. So just do the math on it. If you start 1-3, that's not going to be easy. But you're right. No, there isn't must win here. This is something. Obviously, Sean Lewis is not supposed to be here for a season. He's trying to build something. He built something at Kent State. He took them to their first 2 bowl games ever and their first bowl win ever while he was at Kent State. So no, not a must win. Be nice if San Diego State did win the game. They'd get back to 2-2 and give themselves a shot, hopefully to pick up 6+ wins here this season. Next question.
Can the Padres still win the NL West?
The age-old question.
Well,
Jim.
yeah, they can still win the NL West because they're mathematically in it, and it's not a crazy number. It's 3.5. We'll see. What time's the Dodgers-Braves game start tonight?
I'll say like now.
That game, John, starts like right now. I think 4:20. 4:20. Okay. 4:20 first pitch there. I don't know who's on the mound for either team. Oh, Max Fried's on the mound for the Braves. I don't know who's pitching for the Dodgers, but hey, Dodgers lose tonight. You win tonight. You're 2.5 back. So yes, the Dodgers do play the Marlins and the Rockies for
9 of the last 12.
Yeah. So not ideal. Okay. But if you can smash them, which, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility that you can do that, getting to next Tuesday, 3 or less, yeah, it's a possibility for sure.
It's definitely a possibility. I just don't see it as a distinct possibility. Just looking at the sheer math on it and looking at Fangraphs playoff odds, Fangraphs gives the Padres a 98.8% chance of making the postseason, which is awesome, but it only gives the Padres a 7.7% chance, an 8.6% chance of winning the division. So 1-11, they give them a 1-11 shot of winning the division, a 99-100 shot of making the postseason. 8.6% is not nothing. So they definitely have a shot. It's just not a great shot, is how I would look at it, at winning the division. Next question.
Are the 2-0 Chargers for real?
The one thing, though, about Jim Harbaugh is he has an identity for his teams. And this team is going to have an identity of running the football, controlling the line of scrimmage, and Justin Herbert is not going to throw for like 400 yards a game. He threw for 130 yards yesterday, 144 yards in game 1. They're going to run the ball down your throat, but they also have played the Raiders and the Panthers. So anybody playing the Panthers, I take nothing away from those games. Even though the Saints beat the crap out of the Cowboys yesterday, that was kind of a weird situation where it's like they beat up on the Panthers week 1, but you're like, whatever. But then you beat up on the Cowboys week 2, you're like, you contender now?
Are they going to make the playoffs?
With their easy schedule, they have a chance for sure.
Yeah, I mean, when you start 2-0, your odds go up drastically. And I look at the schedule and like this is a big one. Sunday at Pittsburgh. Honestly, the winner of that game is like Pittsburgh's 2-0, right?
Yep.
So the winner of that game is beautifully situated. I mean, beautifully situated in the early going. Now, then you host the Chiefs. And the Chiefs didn't exactly look like the Chiefs yesterday. Sorry, Sammy, who's back there. But, I mean, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. But in the regular season, what do they even care? They're just going to get to the postseason, and that's when their season starts. So I don't think it's inconceivable that the Chargers put together a pretty decent record. And starting 2-0 is a good way to get to a pretty decent record.
They play the Steelers. They play the Cardinals this year, the Broncos twice, the Titans. They play the Falcons. They play the Raiders again. They play the Patriots. Like,
Well, that's not their fault.
I know it's not their fault, but I'm just saying, like, you know, teams, that's what the NFL does a good job of is balancing schedules out to have the bad teams have easier schedules and the first place teams get in the harder schedules because they want the parity and they want people to not, they want the NFL to continue to roll as far as the parity goes.
True, but two of the teams you mentioned were divisional teams that you mentioned.
Well, still, I mean,
Chiefs play those same teams too, right?
They do, but I'm just saying that their schedule so far is not the greatest schedule.
No, I agree with that. It's not, but it's not college football. It's like whatever. You go 10-7, you go 10-7. Always say, that was a soft schedule, 10-7.
10-7
Are they going to win the Super Bowl before the Niners is the only question that matters.
Truthfully, I don't even care about the Chargers. So why are we talking about this?
Because nobody cares about
Maybe
the
they'll
Niners.
beat the Niners.
I've been talking about the Niners one time today.
I know, but we've spent 1,700 hours on the Niners.
Because the Niners are one of the best teams in the NFL.
But we can mention it's a fair question. Are they for real at 2-0? Is that an unfair question? They shouldn't be broached?
They're frauds. Next question.
Who, the Niners or the Chargers?
Both.
Next question.
Who's been the MVP of the Padres? The most valuable Padre.
Oh, I like that. Get it?
Oh, but I'm bummed. Yeah, I get it. Dude, there's so many candidates. I am going to go with, I mean, it's hard not to go with him. And I'll say Manny Machado.
I was going to say him too, even though it hasn't been a full year.
Yeah,
but
it's hard.
His second half has been so good.
Merrill's been the most consistent, and he's been the biggest surprise this season.
He's been awesome.
If you wanted to go Luis Arraez, I mean, you could go so many players. That's when you know you've had a really good year, is when you have multiple guys. You're like, oh, without that guy, without that guy, without that. But it is Manny who is the engine, and he drives everything here. And when he goes, the team goes. It's just how it is with this Padres team. Not historically in baseball that shouldn't happen, but it's got to be Manny Machado.
I just love the stat from that Phillies game in Philadelphia when he called himself out to today. So here's what he is since that Phillies game to today, 72 games. He's got a 913 OPS with 20 home runs. 20 home runs in 72 games. That's not even Machado like him. He's pacing for 40 plus home runs with that type of half. He's just been about as good as he's been as a Padre. He had the 2022 season. He was great. But this is very similar to his 2022 season overall, these last 72 games.
Dude, it's better.
Okay, these 72 games are, yes.
Yeah. He's played at a level that we haven't seen here in a Padres uniform. Truthfully.
Yeah.
I can't remember a time he played like this for this extended period of stretch.
What was his OPS in 2020 over 60 games? That's at least a comp.
Was it 9? Was it?
I don't know.
Was it in the 900s?
I feel like it was in my head, don't you?
I know Tatis was like 950.
His 2020 OPS was 950 on the nose in 60 games. So it's 72 games. 60 games is a good amount of games. That's crazy.
But we
right?
also know 2020. Those numbers are hard to really talk about. But what he has been doing for this team, it's hard not to say he's the MVP of this Padre team, because without Manny Machado playing at this level, they're not where they're at right now. Like Jackson Merrill, he's not carrying the team. There's times that he's doing that, but I just feel like Manny going to this next level, your cleanup hitter, being this good, has changed the trajectory of this season. And just, we know the date. Like there's a date, and it's no coincidence. Since that date, they've been really, really good as a team.
No doubt. All right, we'll hear from Jackson Merrill on the other side. We're going to speak on the team that I just called Jim out for. Deebo Samuel, he's out for like ever. So Deebo's out. Christian McCaffrey's out. Can the Niners overcome that? We'll hear from Jackson Merrill on the other side. John Kurtz, realignment expert, will join us at 4:30. We have Green Day tickets we'll give away this hour as well as Jon and Jim. All right, hey guys, Jon and Jim again. It's a Monday night at Hamul Casino. You know what that means in September? A chance to win big. Monday Night Live every Monday in September, $100,000 punch out.
Yeah, with 10 winners every hour at 7 p.m., 8 p.m., and 9 p.m. Your odds are better than ever. Plus, you can earn entries all month long by playing and getting 2 times entries on Tuesdays with at least $500 cash for all winners and a chance to win up to $100,000 in cash. You guys will not want to miss it.
We were over there a week ago. Their food's spectacular. I mean, it truly
Amazing.
is. They have endless dining, by the way, 5 nights a week as well. They're endless dining options. Listen to this. It includes Saturday surf and turf buffet. They're going over the top. They've got the perfect combination, succulent steaks, delectable seafood, and an array. I mean, they got everything you could possibly want in terms of food over at Hamul.
Yeah, the Tony Gwynn Sports Pub, Emerald's Chinese Restaurant that just opened up. Get to Hamul Casino right now. All football season long, including every Monday night for Monday Night Live, $100,000 punch out. Hamul Casino. It's fun above all else.
All right, Jim could take the 4:30 segment off. If you want. We're talking to Jon Kurtz.
I'm actually very surprised. Jon Kurtz, I think, was the college football realignment
Well, I was only on one time since that happened. It was Thursday.
Right.
Isn't that right?
Yeah, but
Yeah, because then
and
Friday wasn't on.
Thursday
was Monday.
Thursday we had a packed show.
We had like 4 or 5 guests. Was no one on college football that day? I forget who we had Thursday.
We had JD Wicker on, so like that.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Pretty. When we talk about college football realignment with San Diego State, that just moved to the Pac-12.
Yeah,
it's pretty good. It's gonna be good.
My point is, we haven't had any shows.
It's true. We haven't.
We had JD Wicker Thursday. I didn't work Friday, and then anyway, Jon Kurtz. He's really good on this stuff. He knows a ton about it. So the latest on Pac-12, San Diego State, Big 12, ACC. There's all kinds of stuff out there. Jon Kurtz is going to join us coming up at 4:30. Would you like to, even though I told you all you do is talk about the Niners, and then I kind of bait you to talk about the Niners, would you like to comment on Deebo Samuel missing at least the next couple of weeks with a calf and Christian McCaffrey being out with whatever he has for the rest of the year, and the Niners getting smoked by the Vikings this past weekend.
The Sam Darnold revenge game.
Right. Would you like to comment on that?
I mean, look, if I'm going glass half full guy, which
that's very you.
That's very me. Their next 2 weeks are against a Rams team that
with no players.
All their players are hurt. And then the following week versus the Patriots. So if you're going to miss a couple weeks,
Sound like trap games to me.
If you're going to miss a couple weeks, then it's not the end of the world. Like, their schedule gets significantly harder after, I think, the Cardinals game, or no, after Seattle week 6. After that, they play those cheating Chiefs. And then
how did this?
They play the Chiefs, they play the Bills, they play the Dolphins, they play the Cowboys, the Buccaneers, the Packers, the Bears, the Lions. Like, they have a extremely tough schedule after Seahawks Thursday night 4 weeks from now.
What's it like to know that there's no chance in hell, based on what you just said, that they're going to be like a top seed, get the bye, go through San Francisco, and they're going to have to do it like they're going to have to do it the non-easy way. To get back.
No, for sure. I said that. I said from the beginning, this was going to be a very tough year. That you've never seen an NFL team after losing a Super Bowl come back. Well, since the Bills, obviously in the early 90s, but the last 2 decades here. When's the last team that's lost a Super Bowl and they had a better season the following year?
Is that accurate that it's 2 full decades and nobody's done it? Nobody's lost and then been better the next year?
I don't know. That's off the top of my head. That just sounds right.
Okay.
Like a team losing the Super Bowl and then the following year they go back and they win it. When's that happened?
I'll give you one. Oh, the New England Patriots like 5 years ago and they lost to the Eagles.
They've made the next year?
Yeah, they won the Super Bowl.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Against the Rams.
Oh,
yeah, that one 5 years ago.
Well, I don't remember that one. Sorry.
Right.
But they also had the greatest quarterback of all time.
Oh, here we go.
So,
Well, you guys have Brock Purdy.
Yeah, okay.
Your point's valid. There's not a lot of examples of teams losing a Super Bowl, getting back to even a Super Bowl.
I just think that it's set up where the injuries are going to play a big factor and their schedule is very tough and the hangover effect. Like, I think they're going to make the postseason, but they're not going to be 13-4. They're probably going to be around the 10-7, 11-6 mark.
Jackson Merrill.
What? Say it. You're smiling. Say it.
I have nothing.
What do you want? What do you want to say?
It's just too easy. I have nothing to say. All right, we'll catch up with JB Long this week. Voice of the Rams. By the way, Rams they got absolutely annihilated. They're 0-2. They have San Francisco at home. Their season ends with a loss to San Francisco this week. We all agree. The season's over. It's probably over anyway, but there's no Rams path at 0-3. There's probably no path at 0-2. There's no path at 0-3.
Puka's out.
I know.
Cooper Kupp's out. Their starting right guard is out. The starting safety is out. They're already missing another piece on the offensive line.
Maybe the Niners can give some of the Rams there, like they can switch uniforms for the game.
That's a great idea.
Do in middle school. Like, here are some new pennies.
Yeah.
You wear these.
Hey,
go easy.
You want Brandon Ayuk for this game?
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, that's cool.
You want Debo? You can have him for this game.
He's
Christian McCaffrey.
He's not playing.
You can have him for this game. Let's see. Jackson Merrill. This is just with the media, right? This is Jackson Merrill with the media.
You'll hear Marty in here.
Let's hear from Marty and Merrill.
This is specifically about the playoff race and his first time experiencing it.
Oh, it's not about the Niners? Let's take a listen.
I'm going to hit you.
It's been all year, though. We've been playing for the playoffs and a bigger goal all year. So it's cool coming down to the wire and seeing it all really develop and get put into place.
How would you go ahead and put in perspective just your first full season here and playing in front of these fans here in San Diego? Just how much they've grown on you and vice versa.
Yeah, it's been awesome. I never played in front of an atmosphere like this. Not a lot of people have still, and they're in the big league, so it's really special. And I'm just thankful. It's gone by really fast too. It seems like a blink of an eye. Spring training the other day, and now it's end of the season.
Have you gotten used to seeing adults, kids wearing the Jackson Merrill jerseys when they walk around Petco Park in San Diego?
I try not to pay attention. It just kind of, he's got a Padres jersey on. He's supporting us. That's really all that matters.
How much scoreboard watching do you do? I know Mike Schultz says he doesn't pay attention to it, but how much do you pay attention to what's going on with other teams that you guys are neck and neck with?
Yeah, I think all of us in here kind of just keep up with it, but we're not paying too much attention, You said it before, we control our own destiny in the playoffs and postseason. So, we're doing what we can. Whatever happens on the other side, that happens.
Jackson, how much fun are you guys having right now, man? You're right there, 3.5 back. How cool is this, bro?
Yeah, I mean, we've been having fun all year. I don't think it's anything new.
Oh man, we are not having fun.
This
There's one
actually
thing I wanted to
sucks.
tell you right now. This has not been
I
enjoyable.
hate
This
this.
has been awful. We can't wait for this thing to end.
It's
Merrill's, I mean, it's just amazing that his mindset all year has been that. And he's produced all year long with that mindset. Like, I'm not going to worry about anything other than like every game. And every game he comes through and he's got 80 something RBIs and he's hitting close to 300 and he's put this thing together for 150 games.
He now holds a lot of rookie records
for the Padres.
For the Padres. Yep. And he's 21 years old and he's playing like this. He's talking. I mean, the way he talks, the way he just comes off, the energy that he has every game, it's definitely infectious. It's something that they were desperately missing last year.
Mm-hmm.
And he's come through in a big way. Like, even just having the energy around, I think would have made this team better. But then putting up the season that he's putting up, that's another level. We're like, whoa, okay.
All right, we have tickets to give away to Green Day. We'll do that coming up in about 20 minutes. But up next, John Kurtz, the latest on college football realignment, how it impacts San Diego State. John Kurtz, insider realignment expert, will join us next.
This update's brought to you by Allstate. Padres start a 3-game series tonight with the Houston Astros. Padres are a game and a half up on the D-backs for the 4 seed, 3.5 games back of the Dodgers in the NL West. Yu Darvish on the mound for the Padres tonight. Aztecs, they have a bye this week, but they announced today their start time for the following week's game at Central Michigan. Kickoff will be at 12:30 Pacific, 10:30 a.m. is when our pregame coverage will start. And San Diego FC today announced the hiring of Mikey Vares as their first head coach in club history. Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Those people are probably saving a carload of cash right now. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate's first for a quote. Today, you're in good hands with Allstate.
All right, hit us up with the talkback mic. Just open the free iHeartRadio app. Listen to San Diego Sports 760. Tap that little microphone icon next to the play button to leave a 30-second talkback. We have those Green Bay tickets we'll give away in about 15 minutes. It is great to connect with John Kirk among my favorite topics, not necessarily our listeners. We're Jim. I like talking realignment, and John Kirk, big club insider. I can be a realignment expert. I don't know such a thing, but I'm going to tell you that anyway. And he's also doing a great job. He's got a brand new newsletter open business, ofbnews.com, if you're looking for more on the latest in college athletics. So, John, we appreciate you joining us in San Diego. We all know the news revolving around the Pac-12, so I guess I'll start right there. What was your reaction, and what do you think comes next for the Pac-12? And thanks for hopping on, man.
Yeah, anytime. I appreciate the kind words. I got to be honest. I was slightly surprised, probably, that happened, and it sounded like the Mountain West was a little bit surprised as well that it happened that way. One, just because of the financials that are involved with having to take those 4 teams there. I mean, it's going to cost a lot of money and take a good chunk out of the quote unquote war chest the Pac-12 has built up to bring all those teams in. And it just seemed like there was a lot of collaboration there, obviously with the scheduling agreement. And literally one of the last things I had read, I think a day before that happened, was a story about, I believe the Oregon State president went on with John Canzano and John Wilner, who do a great job covering the Pac-12. And he was saying, like, look, we're just rooting for chaos. Like, we want chaos in the ACC because the best case scenario for Oregon State and Washington State is that somehow they wind up being like backfill candidates for the ACC if and when Florida State and Clemson and whoever else is going to lead the conference. So based on all that, I didn't get a sense that this was something that was going to be really imminent and happen the way that it did. I mean, I can understand it. I think they got the 4 strongest teams, obviously, out of the Mountain West. I think if they're looking toward like a Tulane and a Memphis, if they're able to lure them away from the AAC, then they've probably done about as well as you possibly can out of the group of candidates that are left. And the other part of it is just timing. I mean, they don't have a ton of time, even though it seems like 2026 is pretty far away. When you're talking about big decisions like this, they don't have a lot of time to meet that threshold. They had a 2-year window from the NCAA to be able to get up to a full conference. They've got to get moving on that. So I guess in retrospect, it makes a little bit more sense than it did at the time when I first saw the news.
Oregon State's AD Scott Barnes talked this past weekend about the expansion or the new Pac-12 conference. He says that he only wants to add teams that have both basketball and football. I know there's a lot of discussion of Gonzaga being a team out there that would make a lot of sense for this new Pac-12. Do you think that's the right decision to only bring in schools that have both football and basketball, and they're maybe making a mistake here by not capitalizing and trying to get Gonzaga?
Yeah, that was a little interesting. I mean, because Gonzaga was attractive enough, like for instance, to the Big 12, where there was a long flirtation there, and I'm not so sure that if it were up to Brett Yormark, he wouldn't have Gonzaga and UConn right now in the league. I think the pushback is coming from everybody else. So there's clearly some value there. I would guess that a lot of it is just about mouths to feed for all these schools that are coming into the Pac-12 right now. Because I just reading Dennis Dodd earlier today, there's a lot of questioning, I think, from within the industry, and particularly like folks on the TV side about, all right, how are they actually going to make more money, these schools that are coming over from the Mountain West? Will it be significantly more money? And especially the AAC, because it had the best G5 TV deal where teams were making between $7 and $10 million per year. And so if you are a Tulane or a Memphis, are you really going to make that much more money in this league? So if you talk about adding a Gonzaga, it gets a little complicated then with basketball and having to divvy up some of the revenue to them. So I would imagine it just purely comes down to, we need to keep this as small as possible right now to keep the pie as big as possible for everybody, or the slice of pie that everybody is getting. Probably the more appropriate analogy there, as big as possible right now.
John Kurtz with us right now. He's got a great newsletter, Open for Business, ofbnews.com. With us on Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. We'll see if Memphis and Tulane comes to fruition. Like you said, I think there's reasons to believe it will, and there's probably some reasons to believe that it wouldn't. Even if it does, eight's a small league. Like you said, you're slicing that pie in less ways, but you're only playing 7 conference football games, which would leave 5 non-conference games. That's very rare. In fact, it's basically unheard of in the FBS level right now. If you were adding a 9th school, if you had Memphis and Tulane in the fold, who would you add as a 9th football playing school?
Man, it's tough. I mean, honestly, I do kind of I know UTSA is one that has been thrown out there. Getting into the state of Texas, I do think there is some real value in that. And UTSA has been a school that's been on the rise. You know, Jeff Traylor's done some really good things there with that football program. And I do think you are kind of looking at potential at that point. Like, you look 5 to 10 years down the road, like what could be something really good for your league. So I probably land there, but that's maybe a part of the issue here. You know, UNLV, I guess the other one is a little bit of a curious case. Like, I was a bit surprised they were not included, just because Vegas seems to be on the come up with a lot of professional sports. It's obviously just a huge market to get into. I also know there were some political concerns there with them being tied with Nevada possibly, and also just TV ratings wise, they were not doing very well. They're not much of a poll, even though they are in a big market. So I can see UNLV being valuable as well, but if they didn't go get them the first time, that tells me that the process didn't really think it was that worth it. So because of that, I think I would probably land back on UTSA, but I don't think there is like a slam dunk great option, and that's probably a part of why they stopped at 4 there, and why the discussion right now seems to be, at least according to like Bruce Feldman's report, centering in a little bit more on Memphis and Tulane next.
And there were reports today, I believe Pete Thamel reported it, that Air Force and the AAC are potentially looking at having them join their conference. And that would be the question of like, okay, where's the Mountain West going to go from here with losing their top 4 schools? And then Air Force, if they leave, like, what's next for the Mountain West?
Yeah, I mean, the Mountain West is going to be in a lot of trouble. And I kind of felt, you know, when I saw this, it's like, it's just funny how the circle of life goes around for everybody in realignment, right? Because Oregon State and Washington State were sitting there saying, and rightfully so, like, hey, everybody just left us out to dry here. Nobody cared that our conference got taken away, and we're just left without a lifeboat. And then it trickles down. They kind of do the same thing potentially to the Mountain West. I mean, we'll see. They may be able to backfill and keep it going, but they could have done almost essentially exactly what the Big 10 or Big 12, whoever you want to put more of the blame on for what happened to the Pac-12. They just did it to them, and then you just see the trickle down of conference realignment. I think everybody believes that this is starting another wave. So unfortunately for the Mountain West and Mountain West fans, like, that is just kind of the college athletic circle of life right now, which is not a particularly healthy one. Definitely not a good one, I think, for the long-term viability of the sport, but it is also kind of a toothpaste out of the tube situation where I feel like it's just out. That's how it works now. And unfortunately, it's probably not going to be able to get back into the tube.
No doubt about it. John Kurtz with us, ofbnews.com. If you're looking for more college football fans, San Diego State fans, ofbnews.com. John, you cover this day in, day out, week in, week out. The Florida State Clemson story that's played out over months at this point. It is kind of laughable, Florida State's start, but that's not going to play a role in what happens next for them. They've thrown so much money at this idea of fracturing the ACC or getting out of their television agreements, this grant of rights, so to speak, with the ACC. What's most realistic? I mean, they're hell-bent. Are they hell-bent on leaving, or are they hell-bent on getting more money, even if it's from the ACC?
I think it's pretty fair to say that they're hell-bent on leaving, and it is funny that they've started 0-3 and seem barreling toward like a 4-8 kind of season. It just showcases how stupid all of this is, right? But yeah, I mean, they've been really, really kind of nasty towards the ACC. I think their attitude has been like, we've got to get down and dirty if we're going to win this case. I mean, they went as far as to make accusations in, the 4 lawsuits in 2 different states between Clemson and Florida State. It's hard to keep it all straight, but they made allegations against John Swofford, the former commissioner of the ACC, accusing him of nepotism by an old TV deal that they had where his son was working at the network that they were negotiating with on that, Raycom, I believe. And that was something that clearly, Jim Phillips took a lot of offense to as the current commissioner of the ACC, because he called it out at ACC Media Day. So, it's gotten pretty. They've been below the belt, in terms of where they're swinging. I think in a lot of ways for Florida State, they were having public board meetings when this first started a little bit over a year ago that everybody could see, where they were just directly taking shots at the ACC and basically just publicly posturing hey, we're better than this. So I think they're out. One way or the other, come hell or high water, they are going to be out. The real question is going to be do they actually have a landing spot in the SEC or the Big Ten? Because, a lot of the reporting now, Brett McMurphy had a really big piece a couple of months ago. A lot of the reporting suggests that, at least as of right now, they maybe don't. Now, I do say take that with a grain of salt, because, we saw similar reporting on Oregon and Washington before they actually joined the Big Ten that was kind of the same. Hey, nobody really has an appetite to expand more and take schools from the Pac-12. But then when they're there on your doorstep and it's hey, this thing's exploding, we need a landing spot, the Big Ten did make room for them. I still doubt that if Florida State and Clemson were knocking, particularly at the Big Ten's door, to be able to get a foothold in the state of Florida as national of the conference as the Big Ten is right now, I would have a hard time that the Big Ten wouldn't at least offer some kind of limited cut to them. They wouldn't be full-fledged members. They would be building up to getting the full revenue share there. But it is at least enough to give you pause. And yeah, I agree with you that the start this year is not going to really affect ultimately Florida State's position here, but it probably does make them at least a little bit more uneasy at this point with all of that reporting being there. And maybe the Big 12 is an option. I never really believed that until we went through this latest kind of cycle of reporting right before the season started. But maybe there is an outside chance that Brett Yormark could pull something like that off. So I think it'll be really fascinating because, like I said, I think the damage has been done, and Florida State, one way or the other, is going to get out of that conference.
Right. Some of the quote unquote dumbest parts of realignment is it's not really like a meritocracy. San Diego State's won a lot. That hasn't gotten them, into a power league. There's other programs like the Big 12 that have won a lot that have been, in danger of potentially not becoming extinct, but being on the outside looking in. And then you just have quote unquote brands, and brands really at the end of the day carry the day because of the value in television. And by the way, if Florida State and Clemson go to the Big Ten, that map ad is going to become like a 60-minute documentary. That map is going to be all over the country if Florida State and Clemson end up there at some point. John, appreciate you doing it here in San Diego. Love your work on YouTube and ofbnews.com. So thank you for taking time for us.
Hey, anytime, John. Appreciate it. Great to talk to you, man.
Good stuff. Did you hear that, Jim? Call right now if you want Green Day tickets.
Jim who?
Are we giving away Miramar tickets today or not? Next week we are, though.
Oh,
that was the tease. That was the tease. We're giving away next week. Call right now if you want Green Day tickets. First 2 callers will be contestants. This is an amazing giveaway. 877-767-4760. You need to call right now. First 2 callers will be contestants for trivia. Green Day, Smashing Pumpkins, or Pumpkins.
Pumpkins.
Saturday, September 28th, fitting because Halloween is coming. Green Day, Smashing Pumpkins, Saturday, September 28th. First 2 callers will be contestants. 877-767-4760. That's next. Keep up with San Diego Sports 760 anytime, anywhere. Whether you're stepping out of the car, settling into home, just to ask your Google or Alexa smart speaker to play AM 760 or stream it live through the iHeartRadio app. It's never been easier to stay connected with your favorite shows like this one. San Diego Sports 760. Yes, John.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John. You didn't say that.
You would have to know your name in order to say that.
I don't feel like you come out with me. You made me think easy. It's just like,
I have interviews with two people instead of one.
right, wait, what? I thought it was just one person.
one
that whole
person.
time. All right, next week, Miramar Air Show tickets we've got for you today. Green Day tickets. In fact, I think we have these all week long. So let's get to it.
All right, 3 questions, 2 contestants, 1 lifeline. Today's 2 contestants are, hold on a second, are William and Jim. William, you called in first. Yeah, no, I hope you picks him. William, you called in first. So you have your choice of John or Jim. Who do you want to go with?
I'll take Jim.
William and Jim, yes.
Perfect.
Which
that
means Jim is with John.
Jim is with John.
So John and Jim.
And then William and Jim.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Jim, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Perfect. Great name, by the way. Awesome name.
Confusing.
Brent, what is today's question of the day?
All right, guys, the Eagles are on Monday Night Football tonight against the Falcons. You know, Saquon Barkley is 170th. Yeah, that's a typo, I think.
No.
No, he's really 170th. Oh, I guess he's only been there 2 weeks. He's 170th in Eagles history with 109 rushing yards.
Right.
Can you name the top 8 rushers in Eagles history?
Okay.
So we're looking for the top 8 rushers in Eagles history.
All right, Jim, you're up first. What's your first guess? You do have a lifeline, which is John, if you want to use it.
Wow, you know what? Yeah, go ahead, please.
All right, John, lifeline.
I'll give you the LaShawn McCoy.
Shady McCoy. Do you take that, Jim?
Yeah.
All right, Jim takes it. Good job, Jim. William, you're up next. What's your first guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
Yeah, I only know the last name, Staley, something Staley.
That counts.
Something Staley.
What is it not? I mean, it's pretty good.
Staley.
It's your contestant. You don't want to give it to him?
I mean, I want to give it to him.
Well, then we gave it to him.
We gave it to him.
Yeah.
There we go.
I mean, if you know
Staley.
the last name Staley.
Yeah. There we go. Do Staley. Good job.
Houston, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Jim, back to you. Second guess. Do you have a lifeline if you want to use it? Or no, sorry, you don't have a lifeline. It's all to you.
No.
Sorry.
You just another.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
So you have to guess here. What do you got?
Was it Ricky Sanders?
Ricky Sanders.
No,
No.
not on the list.
Damn.
No.
Okay, I know where you're going, but yeah.
Yeah. William, back to
Was wrong,
you.
Ricky.
What's your second guess?
Was it Ricky Waters?
Ricky Waters on the list.
On the
It
list.
is.
There
Wow.
you go. Jim, you're gonna need this to stay in the game here. You don't have a lifeline, so it's all up to you, man.
Yeah. Wow. I'm drawing blanks. Jesus Christ. Shoot. DeAndre Swift?
DeAndre Swift, who's from Philadelphia. But not on the list.
Wow.
And that'll do it, right?
That will do it. William is the winner.
Dun, 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 dun. I mean, the effort was really good from
Yeah.
Jim.
Very
I
good.
think he said, who was this? What did he say? Ricky
Williams. Or no,
No.
Ricky something. Ricky something.
Sanders. or
Ricky
something.
Sanders.
Ricky Sanders.
Yeah.
Ricky Sanders is not on the list. By the way, Randall Cunningham's going to be on this list.
Donovan McNabb's on this list, right?
Who's on this list?
Well, one of you's right.
Oh, right. It's Randall Cunningham.
All right. Number 1, Shady McCoy. Number 2 is Wilbert Montgomery. Then Brian Westbrook, kickoff returner extraordinaires. Number 3. Then Steve Van Buren was 4. Deuce Staley was 5. Randall Cunningham was number 6. Ricky Waters was 7. And then Miles Sanders was number 8.
William, congratulations. You're going to see Green Day with the Smashing Pumpkins, and that's coming up Petco Park Saturday, September 28th. For tickets and information, go to Ticketmaster.com. If you didn't win today, more chance to win those Green Day tickets coming up this week.
McNabb
right
was
here
11th.
On who's 11th?
McNabb was 11th.
Okay. All right.
Jim's
All right.
pick.
So more chances this week to win tickets to see Green Day. We'll kick off hour 3, getting you ready for the Padres and the Astros. Game 1 of a 3-game series down at Petco Park, which is 12 regular season games remaining for San Diego here in 2024. Hour 3, Jon and Jim comes your way next.
This update is brought to you by Allstate. Padres start a 3-game series tonight against the Houston Astros. 6:40 first pitch. Yu Darvish on the mound for the Padres. Score update in the Braves-Dodger game. The game is scoreless in the top of the third inning there. Padres are just 3.5 games back of the Dodgers in the National League West, and they hold a 1.5 lead over the D-backs for the 4 seed. Aztecs, they have a bye this week. They announced the start time, though, for the next week's game against Central Michigan, 12:30 kickoff time there. Of course, you can listen to that right here on San Diego Sports 760. And San Diego FC today announced the hiring of Mikey Suarez as their first head coach in club history. Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Those people are probably saving a carload of cash right now. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first. For a quote today, you're in good hands with Allstate.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Final hour of Jon and Jim. Now, Jim just mentioned the new head coach of San Diego FC, the first ever, Mikey Suarez. He'll join us tomorrow at 3:30 on Jon and Jim. So be listening tomorrow. He will join us. Will Brinson, by the way, will join us on Tuesdays throughout the course of the NFL season. He will also join us tomorrow at 4 p.m. And old friend of the show, Cynthia Freeland, will join us on Fridays throughout the course of the football season, Fridays at 4 p.m. So busy show tomorrow. And also we have John Party tickets we'll give away coming up this hour. Padres play tonight.
They do, John.
Their 12th to last game. That's how they're marketing it. This is our 12th to last game of the season. Swing by.
Who's marketing? Who's saying that?
Well, I'm saying it. 12 more games remaining.
Okay.
Padres and Astros, game 1 of a 3-game series. Some people have said maybe a World Series preview. We may be getting ahead of ourselves, but 2 of the hotter teams in baseball since the first half. Houston did not start well. San Diego didn't start particularly well. And here they are, both well above 500. Astros 13 or 14 over. Padres 20 games over for the first time since 2010. Pretty intriguing matchup, I would say.
Yeah, both of these teams have the first and I believe second best record since a certain period.
Yeah, definitely. There's like a date where they're the top 2 teams. Yeah.
You could be looking at a World Series preview tonight, John.
Could be.
And I'm being like dead serious because the Astros seems like almost every single year they're in the ALCS and they have a lot of vets on that team that have been, postseason experience, and Yordan Alvarez and Altuve and Bregman. And then the Padres are playing as equally as good as the Astros, better than the Astros actually. So this could be a really fun series, honestly, because both of these teams have the same goal in mind with how they're playing right now. And they probably both think the same thing. Like, we're playing hot. We're playing really good baseball. We're hot. We have a chance to, make a run and get to the World Series. And that'd be definitely an interesting World Series matchup. Astros, Padres.
I mean, what's the stat now with the Astros? They made 7 consecutive championship series or further. I'm pretty sure they've been in 7 straight ALCSs or
they lost last year to the Rangers, right?
And that was their 7th consecutive. Yeah. So I mean, they're just they fall out of bed, so to speak, in that spot. For San Diego, the 6-game homestand, their last regular season homestand, we talked about it earlier. Maybe you position yourself to get into the postseason by the time it ends. The thing you're trying to sort out is 2 things. First of all, is Bogaerts now your shortstop? Because is Kim just out? Kim's just out.
Well, there's no sign of him.
Well, no, I mean, he's not active. So
I know.
The update is remains without a timetable. So for me, it's too late. Sorry.
2 weeks left.
Wish it's too late. You can't come back.
You're not in a postseason series, especially the wild card series.
Right.
You're not going to be like,
so short.
Hey, Donovan Solano, you're back to the bench because we need to put Ha-Seong Kim back in the lineup. Not happening.
I agree with that. So I think it's too late on Kim.
Or somebody would be on the bench, right? Like, I don't know. Would it be Solano? Because you move Bogey back to second. You move Crony back to first.
And Luis Suarez is DH.
And Luis Suarez is in the lineup.
Yeah,
so
Donovan Solano's not playing. And I'm watching Solano. Was it Friday night or Saturday night? He had a 3-double game with 4 hits. So he's got to be in there. And unfortunately for our son Kim, I think it's a little too late to think about really putting him in at some point between now and the end of the postseason. So there's that. I think most people are okay with it. You look at how they're playing. And then there's Robert Suarez. The only part of this whole thing that hasn't gone perfectly in the second half of the year is Robert Suarez. Can they overcome it? I think they can. I think even if Robert Suarez isn't as effective as he was earlier in the year, I think there's workarounds. Doesn't have to throw the 9th inning. You have Tanner Scott. You have Jason Adam. Could they win the World Series with Robert Suarez being average? That's an interesting question.
Yeah, and we were talking about, like, what is the weakness with this Padres team? Last week, it was kind of hard to say one, but right now, it does feel like it's Robert Suarez. Like, at least whenever he's out there, at this point in time, you don't feel as confident as you did before.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a fact. I mean, there's no way that you could feel as confident about Robert Suarez as the earlier in the season, just because the numbers show, and you've watched him, and we've watched him every single time out here, not really look sharp. Like, his command's off. He's not getting. I mean, his strikeout total is way down this season. People are hitting his fastball hard, and he's just that. It's just everybody's sitting fastball because that's his one pitch. Now he's mixing it up a little bit more here, but still, you're only sitting fastball. And when a guy throws a fastball like 95% of the time, it's fine to spit on whatever else he's throwing up there.
Worried about your stuff is spot on, and you're right. But his strikeout rate wasn't higher in the first half, and he had like a sub 1.25 ERA in the first half. So it wasn't the sheer swings and misses. It was nobody would barrel him up. And that's completely changed the second half of the year. And it's not like he's ran out of gas. He still throws 100. Maybe his location isn't the same. But all of a sudden, what's funny is like his numbers in 2022, I think I have this right, were probably just as good at this point, right? In 2022, he was pitching as well as he's pitched basically in 2024. My point is, all this like, oh, this is a career year, and now he's the closer now. It wasn't the closer previously, so he is the closer now. But it's like, I don't know what it is. I don't think it's sheerly running out of gas because he still throws 100 miles per hour. Maybe it's just the video on him. People are aware that he doesn't throw secondary pitches. Whatever it is, some of it's mental between the ears. Whatever it is, it's real because we're watching it. I've been telling you for weeks on end. I'm like, what happened to Robert Suarez? And I keep saying it, unfortunately.
Well, you got this next week. I think you got to figure it out because you get into next week, and if he's still not looking good, and if he's giving up runs, and if he blows a couple more saves, like, then you're going to get to the postseason and potentially have to change your closer game 1.
No, you're not going to do that.
I know, but I'm saying if you don't make a move here, and if Robert Suarez, if he's available, gets the 9th innings, and he still is not sharp, not throwing for strikes or giving up, runs and or blowing saves, then when are you going to maybe potentially make that move or have that hard discussion of like going into a postseason series? If we have a 1-run lead, do we feel everybody in this room 100% confident with Robert Suarez out there?
I wonder when Schilt would publicly acknowledge. Like,
I don't think he would.
At what point is it too much? I mean, he's going to have to if he loses his job.
I think that the way that he announces it is by calling in Tanner Scott.
But then he'll have to publicly acknowledge it. Then after the game, he'll say, "Oh, it's interesting. You went to Tanner Scott.
Well,
not Robert Suarez. How come?" I mean, he's going to have to address it.
I think I would be very surprised.
Alibi it.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if he does anything other than praise Suarez and then just go with the line of, we're just putting the best players out there to win a baseball game.
Right, but he would basically, at some point, the organization is going to make a decision. At some point, they're going to make a decision. He's either their closer in the postseason or not. And you can't sell it as, he can't be the closer sometimes. That alone is a demotion.
But also, Mike Schilt doesn't have to publicly say who their closer is.
No, but it's going to be in front of our eyes when it's not
Right.
Robert Suarez.
Yeah, and
then he's going to be asked about it.
Yes, he'll have to answer questions then. And
Yeah.
if he wants to beat around the bush, like Schilt is a great person to do that,
Mhm.
and just go the route of not saying anything, then he'll do that.
Mhm.
They don't have to, after the game, if Tanner Scott is the closer for the next 2 nights, say, oh yeah, by the way, we're moving off Robert Suarez. He can say like, oh, maybe we're giving him a couple days off here. Like he can sugarcoat this thing all he wants.
I know, but I just wonder if you can. I'm saying if you actually change your closer, you've changed your closer. So there's going to be a reason as to why you've done it, whether he discloses it or not. It's an interesting time is my point, considering how well they've played. 150 games in, 35-15 in your last 50, and now you make that change is unique.
And here's another thing too. Regardless if he's your closer or not, they're gonna use Robert Suarez in the postseason.
Well, of course.
He's a huge part of this bullpen. So whether he's pitching the 9th inning, the 7th inning, the 8th inning, the same thing still stands is like he's not pitching well. Wherever he's pitching, he's got to be better.
Can you try that again, Jim? Siri missed that.
So Siri, the thing with Robert Suarez, and by the way, people can't hear on the radio probably.
What's that?
So can Siri hear me?
Yeah.
How would Siri fix
Siri,
Robert
can you
Suarez?
hear Jim? She's going to call you.
She's going to call me? Okay, perfect.
Siri doesn't know who Jim is either.
But you get my point is wherever Robert Suarez pitches,
it's important.
It's important because he's going to be used a lot. Like they're not just going to shelve him just because he's not their closer potentially anymore.
True, but the difference being if he throws a 7th inning and allows a run that ties the score, it's different than throwing a 9th inning and allowing a run that ends the game or ties the score. Why? Because you have it's just different. I mean, there's a reason why your best pitchers are throwing 9th innings, not 6th innings.
But still,
innings.
it will still hurt.
Yeah, but I mean, that's
pitches.
any reliever that pitches at any point in the postseason. It all is going to add up.
More importantly than is he your closer or not? Right now, you got to get
how he's pitching.
It's how he's pitching. He's got to pitch better.
Well, I'm telling you how he's pitching, and it's playing out over weeks on end. He's just been truthfully, he's been below average, and it's weird because he throws 100 miles per hour, but he's been below average. He's been very hittable, and he's been hit hard a lot in the last couple of weeks. He's allowed home runs.
Yep.
The last few times out there, he's had some blow-ups the last few times out there. So that's just, if there's something in my mind that can hold this team back, like any team, is having that as a weak spot. And I don't know. I don't know if it's a weak spot, but I think recently here, it's been a weak spot. Does it give you all the confidence in the world that you can win a World Series when your closer has been very quote unquote mid?
Well, the luxury of this roster is Robert Suarez isn't the only closer they have. They traded for Tanner Scott. They traded for Jason Adam. Those guys there have closer experience, especially Tanner Scott. And so if they made a move, I think they're set up beautifully to feel confident about whatever move they potentially make. And I think as a fan, you should feel confident with whatever the move they make as well.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if they never got Tanner Scott or Jason Adam at the trade deadline, and then we're sitting here talking about who's the closer. Like, is Adrian Morejon going to get shots? I'd feel way more nervous if they gave Adrian Morejon an opportunity to close over Robert Suarez. You give an opportunity to Tanner Scott, or they make him your new closer. Don't you feel just as confident?
Yeah, I would feel good.
You feel pretty good, right?
I would feel very good. That's the value of having added him.
They're set up, I think, better than any team in baseball
because they have second options.
If their closer is shaky and it becomes a problem, the next man up potentially is better.
Yeah, that is interesting. All right, we can continue to react to that on the other side. Is there something that can hold this team back? 70470 started with the word team. Plus, we have the first public comments from Brian Dutcher on the switch from the Mountain West to the Pac-12 for San Diego State's men's basketball team. What is it going to mean for Dutch and the Aztecs basketball program? Some quotes from Brian Dutcher on the other side. We're here until 6. It's Jon and Jim. San Diego Sports 760 presents our 2024 iHeartRadio Music Festival live this Friday and Saturday from T-Mobile in Vegas. Some of the biggest artists in the world together on one stage. Gwen Stefani, Caribou, Black Rose, Dua Lipa, and more. The show live all weekend long. Stream it on Hulu and listen on iHeartRadio starting at 7:30 p.m. We have public quotes, as opposed to private ones, from Brian Dutcher on San Diego State's upcoming move to the Pac-12.
It would have been cooler if you said we had private quotes.
We have private quotes that we have been able to ascertain.
Yeah, we have exclusive quotes from Brian Dutcher.
We hacked Coach Dutcher's phone.
He said the things that he has said before.
Oh, cool.
That people completely discount how hard it is to play at elevation. And to not have to play at elevation is going to be seen as a massive win. Simple as that. Some of those programs are really good. Utah State's been really good at basketball. New Mexico's really good at basketball. But by not playing them on the road, you don't have to deal with the whole pickle juice this and elevation that and get in, get out type experience. He also said, this. Dutcher, this is from Mark Ziegler, by the way. Dutcher was asked if he'll lobby Gonzaga coach Mark Few. And he said Mark Few is a very smart man. He goes on to say this, but I know this. Two of the best programs on the West Coast are San Diego State and Gonzaga. If we get in the same league together, it's going to be a hard league. So I don't know if that's lobbying or not, but Brian Dutcher's aware of what Gonzaga could potentially mean for that future conference. Now, remember, you asked John Kurtz about this. The Oregon State AD was like, no, it's got to be a football institution to be in the Pac-12. I don't know if that's going to play out or not.
It's not smart.
Now, that's not the commissioner. That's an athletic director.
But you need to have the ADs sign off on it.
No,
right?
I think you need the presidents to. And now there's 6 presidents in the league. It's not just Oregon State.
Isn't that one of those things where it'd be like, hey, Oregon, we don't care what you think. You're in the Big Ten now.
No, Oregon State.
No, Oregon State.
Okay. You
Yeah,
said
Oregon State. Oregon State. Yeah, Oregon State. I mean, I don't know. Did he speak did he mean that? It was a one-word answer, like, hey, would you consider, do they have to have football? I was like, yes.
I think that thinking is a little short-sighted of like, hey, you have a real opportunity here to make this conference. This is not just about football. I know everybody says it's about football, and truthfully, football drives everything as far as conference realignment. But you look at two of the more premier basketball programs in college basketball the last decade plus. You have an opportunity to have both those in your conference. Like, why wouldn't you why wouldn't you take that opportunity and capitalize on it? And
we mentioned this yesterday when you had me on our show on Friday.
You're a good guest.
Thank you. Like, the full coup involves Memphis as well. I think football and basketball. But if you have a league in basketball with Memphis, San Diego State, and Gonzaga, and they're playing a home and home, like, that's really intriguing.
Yeah.
Every single year, Memphis is coming to your place. Gonzaga is coming to your place, vice versa.
Yeah.
Now, can they execute on that? People say, well, is this better than the Mountain West? So Mark did the deep dive. Average, here we go. This is the earliest KenPom mention of the year.
Oh, my gosh.
It's August or whatever month it is, September. Average KenPom last year for the Mountain West, 120. Average KenPom for these 6 teams in the Pac-6 right now, 87. So these 6 teams have been way better than the average of the 12 teams in the Mountain West.
Well, yeah, because you have the San Jose States and Air Forces of the world.
But imagine if you threw Gonzaga,
Wyoming,
throw Gonzaga in there, that number 87 all of a sudden becomes like 67.
67.
Yeah.
I just think that you gotta look at the big picture here if you're this new Pac-12 and realize it's not just about football, guys. Like, I know that football is the number one thing that drives this whole bus, but like, if you are sitting there saying you don't want Gonzaga in your conference because they don't have a football program, what? You got to think about the basketball and how much that also drives revenue as well. Like, it's not football level, but
you have creative.
You got to get creative. You have a program that has been in the Sweet 16, however many consecutive years they've been. San Diego State's been to a national championship game recently. They've made back-to-back Sweet 16s. They are a program over the last however many years, make tournament every single year. They're always going to compete. They're always going to compete at a high level. They have one of the best coaches in the country. You bring Mark Few, you add him to this conference with Gonzaga. It just is a no-brainer. I don't understand why the Oregon State AD said that. And I hope that's not the feeling of the entire rest of the conference, truthfully.
Right.
Well, for me, it doesn't make sense because, prime example, look at Notre Dame. They're in the ACC for all sports except for football, and then they're on their own and their own separate entity for football. So if, you have to have a football team to join the Pac-12. Well, then why did Notre Dame get to join the ACC, but they got to leave their football team out because they wanted to stay independent?
Well, why was the Big 12, John Kurtz, who we had on at 4:30, is like, the Big 12 was flirting with Gonzaga. The Big East, if Gonzaga was anywhere other than Spokane, they'd be in the Big East. But you can't be in the Big East when everyone is in the Eastern Seaboard. So, but they've been flirting with the Big 12. Like, if the Big 12 has seen value, then you would think the Pac-12 would see value too.
And I think whatever conference say Gonzaga did leave.
Yeah.
The WAC.
No, WCC.
Sorry, WCC. My bad. Say they do leave the WCC. And whatever conference they go to, that's a huge get for that conference. And
huge.
If it's not the Pac-12, then you're missing out on a big opportunity to strengthen your conference to have one of the best college basketball programs in the country in it. You got to think about that as well. And
I just love 9 football, 10 basketball.
I do too.
Like that to me. And, we had JD on, like you said, last week, and he kind of went down the path of maybe 9 football and potentially more for basketball, because you'd like to play a home and home with 9 schools in basketball as opposed to 8. So it's just how do we even know? I mean, just because Scott Barnes said that, I don't know. It could prove to be accurate, but I don't know if that's the full story or the whole story or not. I guess we're going to find out.
We'll see. I just think that it just makes too much sense. And sometimes when things make too much sense, it doesn't happen.
I agree. All right. We have a pair of tickets to see John Party that we'll give away coming up next. In addition to that, Kevin Harlan once again proving why there's no one like Kevin Harlan. And we're getting you ready for the Padres and the Astros. It's Jon and Jim.
This update is brought to you by Allstate. Padres and Astros start a 3-game series tonight at Petco Park, 6:40. First pitch, Yu Darvish on the mound for the Padres. Score update that matters to the Padres: Braves and Dodgers, game 4 of their 4-game series. Dodgers lead the Braves right now 1-0, bottom of the 4th inning there. They're 3.5 games back. Padres are of the Dodgers in the National League West, and they're game and a half up on the D-backs for the 4 seed in the National League wildcard race. And today, San Diego FC announced the hiring of Mikey Suarez as their first head coach in club history. Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Those people are probably saving a carload of cash right now. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
All right, so surprise, we're actually going to give away some Miramar Air Show tickets in the next 30 minutes. We've been running promos for next week. We're going to give them away this week, too. Be listening. We also have John Party tickets. I said we'd give away John Party tickets coming up. So we'll do that this segment, and then within the next 30 minutes, your chance to win tickets to see the Miramar Air Show, of course, returning here to San Diego. Were you about to say something? Okay. All right, so we have Padres and Astros getting ready for game 1 coming up in about an hour. Now, you put something in here from Kevin Harlan that you wanted to share with our listeners. Brent put this in here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was lucky enough to actually see this live yesterday because I was watching the Vikings beat Jim Steiner. Sorry, Jim.
Okay, so this was part of TV call, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. All of a sudden, I don't remember what quarter it was, Jim. It's like second quarter, something like that, maybe third. They went to throw to Nate Burleson in the booth with a update.
Okay.
And they had problems to where Burleson couldn't hear. And everyone remembers a couple years ago, Kevin Harlan called 2 games simultaneously when they had tech problems. Well, now he has something else to add to the legend because when Burleson couldn't do the update, Harlan did it while calling the 49ers game.
And let's take you to Nate Burleson in New York. I can't hear anything. I can hear you. Go, Nate, go. Here we go. Rodgers against Tennessee, and they're going deep, and it was caught by the Titans. Ridley with a touchdown reception. The former Jacksonville Jaguar, Will Levis, with a long throw for Tennessee. Back to Minneapolis. All right, Nate, thank you. 2nd down 6. Outside they go. There's Ayuk with the catch, and out of bounds he goes. Shoved over there by Gilmore and Harrison Smith. And he's got the ball.
So
Another first
Kevin,
down catch out to the 42.
You have called 2 games at one time, and now you called a studio and a game at the same time. So you never cease to amaze me. Incredible.
So I was watching that live too, and
You were watching that?
yeah, I was actually, yeah. And man, that was
hilarious.
so
That's
funny.
funny, yeah.
You could tell that he didn't know exactly what was happening, and it wasn't Aaron Rodgers' pass; it was a Will Levis pass. But once he caught on and figured out what was going on, he called it beautifully. I thought that it was so funny. It was like, all right, thanks, Nate. Back to you. Thanks, Nate. Like
That is ridiculous.
It
He
was
throws
so
it
good.
to a Titan.
I think honestly, my favorite Harlan is his descriptors on like the time the black cat was on the field. He's like, he's at the 25.
There's a black cat on the field.
He moves left.
Yeah.
He's left.
Or that time there was the streaker, and he did play-by-play
he
on the
did that
streaker.
too.
He's
a bit of a treasure.
He's a play-by-play god.
Is he the best?
It's subjective. I guess
Subjective,
it depends
for
on the
sure.
He's
sport.
one of them.
Yeah, he's up there. He's definitely up there. And he's not going to probably be doing it forever either.
No.
But he's up there. To some, he is. Absolutely.
I think, I don't know why people hate on Joe Buck so much. I like Joe Buck
I like
a
Joe
lot.
Buck too.
I think Joe Buck is really good at what he does. And I think that whenever you hear Joe Buck, to me, that signals big game. I think Kevin Harlan is right up there with Joe Buck and whoever else, maybe Jim Nance, if you want.
I still like Al Michaels, even though he's kind of been phoning it in the last couple
Oh my
years.
God, he's phones it in. He is phoned off a cliff.
I try to remember Al Michaels the way he used to be, opposed to kind of the effort he puts in now. But
the guys that do it at the national level are all good. I mean, a lot of people don't like them, but if you're calling games at the national level, they're all capable and skilled and good. You're right. I mean, Joe Buck's very. Now, if you asked 100 people who would you take, Joe Buck or Kevin Harlan, they would all say Kevin Harlan. But that doesn't mean Joe Buck isn't good. I think a lot of people just think Joe Buck was like handed it, the opportunity. But he's called a zillion big games in his career. So, okay, that was the highlight of week 2. Basically, Kevin Harlan doing the studio show with Nate Burleson was the highlight.
It was for me too, since both of our teams lost. Yeah,
it
wasn't great. Wasn't it great? And
Brian, do you want to chime in on
Caleb?
Caleb, did you see Caleb last week?
He still sucks.
Are you willing to just? Is this your?
Mode?
Is it with conviction? Like you can't foresee him.
I haven't seen anything redeeming in either of the first 2 games.
He had that one throw.
Oh, that one throw.
Look, I'm going to tell you guys the same thing I told Fletch today when I got in. I'm not Chris Collinsworth. I'm not going to get excited because he completed an 8-yard slant. He's the number 1 overall pick. He should complete 8-yard slants every single time.
It is the first 2 weeks of his NFL career. Like you mentioned this at a break. Like a lot of guys used to get a year.
I know,
2 years,
and there's been
3 years.
I know, but there hasn't been like anything that I can just be like, oh, okay, that gives me hope for the future. It's just like, all right, he missed that guy by 15 yards. I'm thrilled for the future, and so yeah, I think I'm gonna regret being right for once, because I've been saying the whole time that I just didn't think he was gonna pan out, and
it's 2 weeks.
Hey, I know
there haven't this thing about the rookie quarterbacks that have started.
Okay,
Bo Nix has not looked good.
Right,
him and Bryce
Young.
Yeah, they're the only 2 that have a worse QB rating than Caleb Williams.
Caleb Williams not looks good. I think Penix hasn't played obviously because Kirk Cousins. New England. Brissett's the starter, and who is the quarterback they took in round 1 from North Carolina?
Yeah, Drake May.
Drake May hasn't played yet.
Right. So I mean, it's a little early.
At the Commanders has looked decent. He's done more than Caleb Williams has.
Jaden Daniels actually, he looked pretty decent.
Easily scored a couple touchdowns.
JJ McCarthy's out for the year.
McCarthy's out for the season.
Right. That's your list.
But yeah, I mean, you got to have a good structure. That the take from I talk about Nick Wright all the time.
You really do.
I don't know. You probably haven't seen this, Brent. He picked the Bears to make the Super Bowl this year.
There's a lot of people that thought they were going to be edgy by picking the Bears to go to the
not
NFC Championship. No, it's
but
not.
I don't think we can fully say whether someone's a bust off 2 weeks. Is my point.
I think
anyway, I don't think
it's leaning in one direction.
You got to give him a better offensive line. That offensive line is god awful, and to give up 36 pressures in 40 something snaps.
But that's one of those things where I said the whole time when they had Justin Fields, drafting Caleb Williams isn't going to make the line block all of a sudden. They're not going to go from being, in the 80s and Pro Football Focused all of a sudden in the teens because Caleb Williams is back there.
There's also organizations. It's like there's organizations that never have good quarterbacks. It's just like there's teams in baseball that don't hit, or there's college football teams that are always good on one side of the ball. Like no matter what you do, sometimes you're kind of stuck in this box. I don't know if that's the case with the Bears or not. It's been a while since you're like, man, their quarterback's the best in the National Football League. Like that's not what they typically hang their hat on.
Isn't it crazy that right now the 3 quarterbacks that you could say are playing the best football are
all castaways.
Wait for it.
Baker Mayfield,
Sam Darnold,
right?
And he's not a castaway. I would put Derek Carr in the mix as well.
Derek Carter.
the drop somewhere in there.
Right.
Those are the 3 guys right now that are playing they're playing really good football.
Well, that goes back to my theory on 2 weeks of football does not make a season.
Right. Like the cream rises to the top.
Yeah. We've seen guys that have been really good in regular seasons have terrible postseasons or in prime time, like a Kirk. I mean, just because you've had good Major League Baseball, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
We get enamored opening day. Tuffy Rhodes. I'm going back. I'm aging myself. 3 home runs on opening day. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't. It means truly nothing. Now, again, football, they play 17 games, not 162. I'm just like, be careful. It'll all settle in.
Like Sam Darnold probably played one of the best games of his life yesterday.
And it was week 2.
And it was week 2. But I will say, to me, that says more about Kevin O'Connell
maybe
than it does
Sam Darnold. Yeah, maybe.
And then you could say the same thing for Baker Mayfield. Like, the situation for Baker is infinitely better than any situation he's ever been in.
Mm-hmm.
And then the thing with Derek Carr, didn't they pick up a new offensive coordinator there? I think they did. Maybe. I don't know.
Say yes.
Yes.
They picked up a new OC.
And the weapons around Derek Carr are probably the best he's had for a long time. So, yeah, I mean, it's all about the structure and the environment that you're in and the
100%.
organization. Like,
Absolutely.
if Bryce Young, I'm just going to say, if he was with the Niners, right, and they gave him a year or whatever, maybe he's better.
He'd be better. And I promise you this, Patrick Mahomes, would he have the same level of success without Andy Reid?
No.
Without the playmakers he's been? He's a great quarterback, but if he ended up in the worst spot imaginable, like the Washington Commanders 7 years ago, would he have 3 rings? There's no way he'd have 3 rings with Washington. Not to say he wouldn't be very good. He'd probably be great.
Yeah, if Patrick Mahomes is drafted the Carolina Panthers,
there's no way they'd have 3 titles. It doesn't work that way.
No, he would
He'd be good, I'm sure.
Fine, but he wouldn't be what he is today.
Exactly. So it takes all of that. We all know it's the most important position, but it takes a lot around it to elevate it.
You need to have a lot. Like yesterday, Patrick Mahomes played a horrible game. You look at his advanced stats, he threw 3 passes past the line of scrimmage that were completed. I mean, everything yesterday for him was behind the line of scrimmage. It was a horrible game for him. Truthfully, the last 2 years in the regular season
haven't been great.
Haven't been good. Postseason last year, freaking went out of his mind. But regular season, it's been average. But it's about what's around him: defense, the weapons like Travis Kelce, Isaiah Pacheco, even though he's out for like 8 weeks now.
Yeah.
But it's the coaching, the culture, like all of that matters. It's not just about the player. And
that's kind of my point.
And the thing with Caleb Williams, I think what might hurt him is not that he's a bad player. I think he's a fantastic player. I just think that the structure around him it probably is going to hurt him in the long run, because your offensive line sucks. The culture there hasn't been great. They've never developed a quarterback ever. So he's going to have to overcome a lot.
First caller to 877-767-4760 is going to see John Party on Saturday night at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. First caller to 877-767-4760 is going to see John Party Saturday night at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. Call right now. Jim's back page plus tickets to the Miramar Air Show coming up next. All right, hey guys, it is Jon and Jim, and it is a Monday night, which means you need to make your way over to Hamul Casino all football season throughout the month of September. On Monday night, you've got a chance to win big with Monday Night Live $100,000 Punch-Out.
Yeah, John, with 10 winners every hour at 7 p.m., 8 p.m., and 9 p.m., your odds are better than ever. Plus, earn entries all month long by playing and get 2-time entries on Tuesdays with at least $500 cash for all winners and a chance to win up to $100,000 in cash. You guys will not want to miss it.
So we were over there last week. Their food is incredible as well.
Good.
You need to get to Hamul for their endless dining 5 nights a week. It includes Saturday surf and turf buffet, by the way. They've gone over the top. Perfect combinations of succulent steaks, delectable seafood. You got to get to Hamul, not just for the gaming, but for the food as well.
Yeah, Tony Gwynn Sports Pub, Emerald's new restaurant that just opened up. Get to Hamul Casino all football season long, including every Monday night for Monday Night Live. $100,000 Punch-Out. Hamul Casino, it's fun above all else. John just left the show. John's done today.
This is a role reversal. Usually you're the one that's late.
It really is. John said he's going to go to the bathroom. And he took the entire break, and he's late. And now he's coming back saying that it's not his fault, but you missed.
It's not my fault. I had to go to the bathroom, and I told you after that Hamul read I was going to be late.
Oh, I didn't hear the late part. I just heard that I'm going to the bathroom.
I mean, listen.
It's fine. It's okay.
Well, hold on.
I'm just giving you crap.
Have we done this open yet? Because I don't want to do it yet for Jim's back page.
We have not yet, no.
Because what I want to do is give away a pair of tickets to the Miramar Air Show the Miramar.
And the Miramar.
But the Miramar Air Show, call 877-767-4760, caller 5. We've got additional details. Miramar Air Show, caller 5, you're going. 877-767-4760. Call right now if you want those free tickets to the Miramar Air Show. And now, let's get to this.
National Cheeseburger Day is Wednesday, John.
Oh, is it really?
Now, it doesn't really apply to
it
you.
Doesn't apply to me.
You don't eat cheeseburgers, but for me and Brent, absolutely. Here are some national.
I'll eat John's.
I thought you were going to say I'll eat John. Wow, that's scary.
Oh, okay.
Okay, what do you have?
Here
National
are some
Cannibalism
deals for
Day.
National Cheeseburger Day. We have Wendy's. You can get a 1-cent junior bacon cheeseburger with an app purchase. Burger King, you can get a free cheeseburger with a $1 purchase in the app. Jack in the Box, you can get a free Jumbo Jack with a $1 purchase in the Jack Pack Members app. McDonald's, get a double cheeseburger for just 50 cents in the app. Buffalo Wild Wings, you can go there and you can get a Blazing Rewards members buy one, get one free cheeseburger. Del Taco, because you know they're known for their burgers.
Right.
You can buy one double Del cheeseburger and get one for free. Carl's Jr. is a half-price double cheeseburger on the Carl's Jr.'s app. And then Smash Burger is a $5 classic Smash Burger with promo code Burger Day.
Promo code Burger Day at Smash Burger.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there you go. Which one would you go get if you had to choose a burger?
I would go Plant Power.
They don't have that, John.
Well, I'll go there anyway.
I think I might just go McDonald's. Give me a double cheeseburger for
Sure.
50 cents.
Can't go wrong.
In-app purchase.
Yeah.
Pretty good there. Crumble cookies, John, September 16th to the 21st. Ready for this?
Yes. Why don't you just call this Jim's Crumble Cookie?
I've already said that I will start putting crumble cookies almost every day in my back page if I can. So
might be endorsement time.
It's past endorsement time.
It's well past it.
Here are some specials this week, and they look delicious. I actually follow somebody on TikTok that all he does is go to Crumble Cookie and like buy the new crumble cookies and just like test them out. They make me hungry every time. Brownie batter cookie.
Mm-hmm.
The caramel pumpkin cake cookie.
Sounds good.
This is like kind of, they have it a lot, almost all the time. The semi-sweet chocolate chunk cookie.
Can't go wrong.
It's a double chunk chocolate cookie.
Can't go wrong.
Shout out Costco. And if you know, you know. The maple cinnamon square. That's a new item.
Mm-hmm.
The fried ice cream.
Fried ice cream.
The fried ice cream, John. Looks like it's fried ice cream on top of a cookie.
Looks amazing.
And then the raspberry cheesecake.
Are you a cheesecake guy? I'm not a cheesecake guy,
bro. I'm a like any dessert type.
You are.
I can eat almost any dessert.
Okay.
Truthfully, I if it has sugar in it, like I'm good. Give it to me.
They're all good. I mean, crumble cookies are ridiculous. Yeah.
And M&M's, John, is announcing.
What did they announce?
It might be something different than what you're thinking.
Okay.
Are you thinking of the pumpkin?
I was thinking new color.
Not new color.
Okay.
The toasty holiday peanut M&Ms are dropping this holiday season.
Mm-hmm.
These are not just peanut M&Ms. They have cinnamon, vanilla, spice sugar, and caramel flavors that will, quote, warm holiday goodness.
I wasn't thinking of that.
Okay. So that's different than what you were thinking of.
Right. What about the pumpkin M&Ms.
I know Brent told us something about
What's
that.
the deal with the pumpkin M&Ms? They're coming out for
They
fall?
exist.
They
They
exist.
exist. Okay.
I think they sound pumpkin pie. Milk chocolate
Yeah,
pumpkin
pie. I don't know. I'm gonna try and find some after
sounds
work tonight.
incredible.
I think.
I would eat it.
Pumpkin
like
pie?
I said,
You would eat anything.
I would eat the sugar stuff. Like give
Dude,
it to me,
pumpkin
man.
pie's so good.
I love
I love
pumpkin pie.
pumpkin
So
pie.
good.
The other night,
Tons of whipped cream.
me and Aaron were craving something like pumpkin.
Yeah.
So I went to Vaughn's and I got us like a pumpkin loaf.
Did you?
Yeah.
A pumpkin loaf. I don't even like
it's not-
pumpkin bread.
It's like pumpkin bread.
Yeah,
so it's
yeah.
like you go to the dessert aisle
Yeah.
and it's already made and there's
Right.
just like little pumpkin slice loaves.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So there you go. So yeah,
Is that the end?
that's the end.
By the way, score update in Atlanta. Dodgers Braves wrapping up a 4-game series. It is LA 3, Atlanta nothing. I do not think this would be a bad result for San Diego
Not really.
because the wild card. I don't think either result's a bad result. This is like a Sophie's choice. You can make an argument either way. But in the game of the magic number, who right now is on the outside looking in? Is it Atlanta or New York, or are they tied?
It is right now, John. The Mets and Braves are both tied.
They're both tied.
So truthfully,
Will this lower their magic number? Atlanta losing? Yes,
Yeah.
it will. So if this score holds, your magic number goes from what we believe to be 8 to what we believe to be 7.
and
if you win tonight, we believe it's 6. That's a great night.
the Mets are losing right now to the Nats.
Great.
1-0 in the bottom of the 8th inning.
Oh wow.
And
What's the deal with the D-backs?
D-backs are leading the Rockies 2-0, bottom of the first.
Okay. So not everything perfect, but those are some good results. Atlanta specifically.
Yeah.
On the outside looking in, the only team that could really pass you in this equation is Atlanta. So the more Atlanta loses, I'm not going to be opposed to that.
Yeah, like I said, I think to me, I'm more worried about the 4 seed than I am their like chances of just making the postseason.
Right. So from the 4 seed perspective, you're thinking more about Arizona losing than you are
Right.
Atlanta. Yeah, I agree with that.
Because even if the scores hold and the Mets lose to the Nats and the Braves lose to the Dodgers,
Yeah.
that helps you.
Yep.
But the one that matters the most is the
True.
D-back score because you got to get that 4 seed locked up. And if you lose tonight, then it's back.
Right. You don't want to play a 3-game series there with this second half. It doesn't seem really right. So
That's if you're looking at like level of importance for games to watch tonight. D-backs is 1, and then you can put the Braves, the Dodgers, and the Mets.
although I'm cool with the magic number going down. I'm a magic number guy. I want to see them celebrate, and that number goes down. That's good. Atlanta lose. If you missed anything today, go to sportsfc.com, iHeartRadio app, iTunes, Radio, or Spotify. Mikey Boris, the new head coach of San Diego FC, joins us tomorrow at 3:30. As well,